Costume change.
That's a change to red.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
nice
just
one.
removed my jacket. Good change. So let me do the afternoon, everyone. Okay, so you're cheating me. So yeah, I've been cheating on my own podcast, guys. So yeah, so like, very nice afternoon again. Very nice afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. This is the Talkeando Podcast. Today is the episode 51, and a special day because today is the day of autism awareness. No,
Yep.
the day of awareness of autism.
Yep.
Yeah. So we are receiving Rachel Martin, and Jaque
Hello,
Jaque
guys.
Ercolani,
Oi.
and James Spalding.
Hey guys.
Thanks so much, guys, for coming.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here to talk about this important subject. I confess that I know just a bit of this. Jaque had came here before, and we have a bit of conversation about that. But as the day is today, and a special day, so you guys are more than able to tell about it than me. And to of course, there's more people like me that doesn't know about the subject, so that's why we are here. So, but before we start, I'd like. Oh, I still have to get used to the cameras now because we have 4 cameras today. So yeah, for who's coming for the first time, I ask you to subscribe the channel. For doesn't know what Talkeando is a podcast where we talk with. There are 2 people talking here about life, about everything that can motivate other people. So it's just like go to the pub and talk with a colleague or a friend, for 2 or couple hours, maybe days. I don't know. Yeah. So considering subscribing our channel every week, we are here. Like we're receiving very nice guests to talk about very nice subjects, and today is not gonna be different. And yeah, so if you have any questions or messages to send to each of us, so please go to the live chat here on YouTube and send this message, and we're gonna answer everything by the end of this podcast. And if you are coming from the future, thank you so You like it? Yeah. So if you are not seeing this on live and you're coming from the future, like if you got into this podcast as with a parachute. We used to say this thing in Portuguese. You understood, You understood. Yeah. So consider subscribe and see this conversation. I know you're gonna love it.
And stick the lottery numbers in the comments so,
Yeah.
so we can play the lottery as well since you're from the future,
Yeah, maybe.
Never mind.
Yeah,
That's
and
too confusing.
I know, I understood. You're just saying lottery, sometimes when I don't understand, I will do a dumb face like, yes, okay. This is happening every day. So yeah, guys, let's start. And Jaque, thank you so much. That was her idea to have this episode, and I'm glad again to have you guys here. So let's talk about you.
Oh my God.
No, not you. No, you came here first. So,
No.
so Rachel.
Yes.
So how is your life among the autism and
So I have 3 children.
3 children?
My eldest is 10. She would be what we call neurotypical, as in she's not autistic. And then I have an 8-year-old boy called Noah. He's autistic. And then I have a 4-year-old child called Ivy. She's also autistic. And that's where I am in the autism world. And then obviously I just started the page FUS, and that's to fight for services for all disabled children, not just autistic children, but all disabled children. And I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, no, we are here for us. And we have James. How are you, man?
Hey Thales, I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah.
Musician.
Musician.
What else?
Entrepreneur, musician, father, husband, friend.
So yeah, how is to be a father of autistic? How can I say?
Autistic.
Autistic boy.
kid, the autistic boy.
My son is 4. His name is Nicholas, and
Nicholas.
I guess I'm maybe 2 years and 2 years and about 3 months that I've kind of known about autism and about his, whatever you want to call it, label that the world puts on his brain and the way his brain is wired. Before that, it was just I had a child who was very hyperactive, very very needy, needed a lot of kind of hand holding and attention and everything, but I didn't know what autism was at all. So I was like you said, you have no idea what it was. I also didn't know. So the last 2 years and a bit have been kind of a big learning experience, and also learning that more than likely, because it's genetic, more than likely I also would fall on the spectrum as well. When I now reflect upon my childhood, for example, or my difficulties socially during most of my life. It's got better now. Probably I've become a little bit better socially maybe from my 20s onwards. But before that I would have been like not so good socially. So, and there's a lot of other things like language delay. So we can get into all the different things that happen, but like, you know, I'm pretty sure, and we were chatting beforehand, me and her were chatting beforehand, like, and she says the same thing. So it's genetic. So most parents also have a lot of the characteristics as well, you know. So I guess, yeah, the last 2 years and a bit have just been kind of a learning experience about everything about it, you know. And then I guess in January, I had a home tutor, Anna, a Spanish home tutor. So before Nick was in school, we had access to somebody to come to the house and kind of teach him a few different things before he goes into school, you know. And she mentioned one day when we were talking about schools, she said, what's the story with the schools and all? I said, I have them on some lists, but, you know, nothing's happening. And she was like, look, I'm going to tell you a fact. The only way you're going to get him into a school is by going to the door of the school and just banging on the door until they let you in. Okay. Because the lists are too long. So, you know, there could be 100 people on the list ahead of you, but if you go in and insist, you know, maybe they'll let you in. So this is why I met Rachel and why I met Jaque as well, because I guess there was like a switch on in my mind that like, if I don't start like actively going out to the world and to other people and like, I guess like pushing the cause, let's say, or representing the cause or advocating for the cause, like nothing is going to change, and for anybody else or for us as well as a family. So that was the day when I went to the school that I'd heard, actually just by coincidence, the next day I met another mum and she mentioned the school, which was really close by. She said, oh, it's lovely, it's great, they're brilliant, you'll love it. So I went and just like convinced them. I just said like, how many kids are on the list? They said, 140. Wow. I said, well, what do I have to do to get my son in? Like, and she said, well,
song, James, don't lie.
I didn't. I just sat. I told her.
Yeah, you play some guitar in the front of school.
No, I just told her a story, and I just said like, I'll work for free. I said, if you don't have enough staff, I'll come and work here for free, and then you can open a new class and accept another. How many kids do you have in each class? She said 6. I said, right. Well, how many adults to take care of the 6? And she said, 3 or 4, depending. I said, well, I'll work for free. I'll bring my wife. That's 2. You know, she's a qualified psychologist, right? So she's useful. Wow. Let's bring the 2 of us and then open a new class. She said, it doesn't work like that. She said, okay, so let me make a phone call. She went off, came back, and then offered me. She said, look, somebody just left their place. Somebody had just been called today. Yeah, somebody had just been called today to be offered a place, and they said no. So there's an opening today. Like, could he start in March? And then he started. So that was when I realized that nothing's going to change. I'm not going to actually achieve anything in terms of like services and stuff, like she mentioned a minute ago, without actually just going out there and like sending the emails, making the phone calls, and like literally like taking it on like a full-time job for a while.
A lot of effort to get
anything, to get even answers or to get any kind of traction. Like we've had to just like the 3 of us have become friends because of that. So we were in a group with parents, mostly mums, me and Jaque, for a long time.
Where the one you manage?
I manage. No, that one is Grávidas e Mamães in Ireland. It's for all moms and pregnant women. It's a Brazilian group that we can, like we are not from here. We don't know how the health system works and anything. So it was a channel that we could talk about that and help each other. Then we have another group that is only with autistic parents. Okay. That's the one me and James met. And then we talk about things we are doing or tips or anything. And in my case, I can speak a bit. I have a 9-year-old, Isabella.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. How was it started for you again?
Because so I'm gonna, let's say, I'm from Brazil. Then I came to Ireland just to, very quick, I was 26 to learn English because it to get good jobs in my country. So that's why I'm here in Ireland. And then, let's say I found love, I met my husband here. And we
love story.
Yeah, love story. Yeah, and we decided to have a life here because we understood it was a good country that offered jobs opportunities and like you could your salary, you could pay everything, bills, travels, and then we had Isabella. And when we had Isabella, we didn't need to use the Irish health system, so I didn't know if it was bad and good at that time, and we just used the GP. Then, after 4 years, I decided to have a second one, and then, ding, twins. So I knew it would be hard, but then after 1-2 years, when we find out they were in the spectrum, it was, it's even more challenging mission, but it's okay. There is God here with us, and I'm gonna. What is autism? And everyone, as me, as you, Thales, like, what is autism? You just think about something terrible or something is the worst that could happen to me. I said, why God? Why this happened to me? This is the worst my life has ended. I got just in shock. But then I said, okay. I cried. Then I said, okay, clean. Let's be understand. Let's study, because when you learn, when you study, then you're better off. So this is what I was starting doing, is studying, and then that's why we met, because then I started to go in all Facebook groups about autism and Brazilian groups, so we could. Then I could feel I wasn't alone. Yeah. Then people could give you support, and also in the crash, the twins were going, and they understood they have different behavior, let's say. And they were really supportive with me. They didn't close the door to me, as it happens to a lot of autistic parents. They just think, I'm sorry, but we don't have enough staff. We don't understand about autism. And
it happens,
It happens, and the crash they were going is called Fledgling, and the director is Carol, and the staff are lovely. And they were the first people to offer me a hand and say, no, Jacqueline, we are together. And they did everything they could. They include my children. We had been there for 1 year. I was even watching pictures today. There was my son, Leonardo, on the table. There was the teacher, and there were all the kids, and also Victoria. And it was an enclosed crash in Cabra, just very near. So, but unfortunately, this is not the only thing our son needs. Our son needs family, that it's us. Our son needs a crash that receives them the way they are and understand their needs and reach them out, and also the health. Then we need to access the Irish system for early intervention, for therapies. And I think this is when I got really disappointed. That dream, when I was getting married, thinking about in Ireland, thinking about a good life in Ireland, it's just when I understood that my sons wouldn't have any help, that I was alone, I was just, oh my God.
Start the nightmare.
Then start the nightmare. Then
I think autism is portrayed as a tragedy, which it is far from a tragedy.
That's
it is. It's far from a tragedy. Like you have to think about. I'm trying to think of an analogy that's really simple. So if you think of it like you are a MacBook and an autistic person's Windows 11. That's literally the difference.
That was
they
going
just
to be
have
the metaphor
different,
I would use as well.
Yeah, they just have different operating systems. They view the world in a different way. They process information in a different way. It's not wrong. It's not broken. It's just different. It's just that we, as a society, expect people to behave in certain ways, and when they don't, we label them as broken.
But don't you think this about more about education? Like you need to educate our people.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And, today is World Autism Awareness Day, but what we would say is you need acceptance and appreciation for autism.
The first step, though, is kind of awareness,
but I
especially
think
when
people
people
are
don't
aware
understand.
now.
People are aware that it exists, but I do understand why people will still use the term awareness, and we're not going to change that, because I think the first step, like even for us as parents, was being aware that was what was going on. And then obviously we've become advocates, so we're like very supportive, and we're like on their side, obviously, because they're our kids. So like we're very accepting, and now we want the society to accept as well. And I guess it's the same for any kind of inclusion. Like in societies where people from other countries, for example, aren't really accepted in society, there needs to be more inclusion. So it's kind of the same type of inclusion that we need. We need to like accept people because they're different, not like, oh yeah, okay, I'm aware that there is an autistic person in my workplace, there is an autistic child in my school group or whatever, I'm aware, and okay, I'll just leave them to their own devices. Or like, for example, I was in Tesco today, and there's a guy who brings the trolleys to the car park and brings the trolleys back to the supermarket all the time, and I see him all the time, and I suspect that he might be autistic or some other kind of neurodivergence. Right, this is a term that you'll hear a lot today.
Don't say that to me. Be like, what?
So neuro as in your brain,
Yeah.
and diversity. So this is a
diversity.
term which is used more often
I was
nowadays.
afraid to say disease.
It's
Because it's not a disease.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
We're moving towards, I suppose, the language of condition seems to be what's
Condition.
coming in.
Condition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Autism spectrum condition seems to
Okay.
be coming in.
Special conditions.
Because you're born with it.
Can I say that?
Because
Spectrum.
it's
Spectrum
Yeah,
conditions.
so it's not linear, as in autism doesn't go along in a line. You don't stay the same. Your challenges, or whatever you want to call them, wouldn't stay the same all the time. You know, you could struggle with communication for a while, and then you could struggle with sensory processing for a while, and it changes. And that's why it's called a spectrum, because it's never the same.
and because each autistic child or adult
Yeah.
would have like different characteristics. I guess like we could start by trying to explain like maybe like
Yeah.
my understanding then of what an autistic
Yeah.
person is,
I would
right?
ask, like, how was your understanding before you have like a child, or like before
So
you
it
have
was zero before,
Zero.
but
Was
like I
zero.
could explain with her analogy was really good. Like, let's say like my son was born with like a Windows physical computer. So his computer was physically looked like a Windows computer on the outside, but his operating system was it's a Windows computer, but it's an operating system which is Mac inside of a Windows computer.
Yeah.
So his operating system processed the information using different computer programming language, using different hardware and everything. But all of a sudden, it's been thrown into this body, which doesn't really process the information the same way. So, like they say, it's a sensory, mostly a sensory kind of condition or whatever you want to call it, at its core. And that's why a lot of things we were talking about the gut as well. It can be related to the gut. But like you process the information differently as an autistic child, for example. Let's just talk about as a child. So when you're trying to learn to speak, for example, you might not have the same control over your vocal cords, for example, because you have like a sensory overload from different things. So you can be like super sensitive to sound, for example. So even the vibration of sound when it's going through your body can like overload your system. You'll see like a lot of autistic children at a young age will be like flapping their arms, or will be making like really loud like sounds, like sudden sounds, like a sound or whatever, right? So what's happening there is it's like overflowing. Their sensory system is like overflowing, and they're expressing it like that. So like to use the lottery, for example, if you just got a text message on your app or a notification and said you just won the lottery, right? What would happen?
I would be happier.
You would be happy, but how would your body react?
Like,
You jump around.
like shaking.
Exactly.
And very, like,
Exactly. So your excitement meter, let's say, would overflow.
okay.
Okay? So think about it like this. So like when a child is like hypersensitive to excitement is a common one, but let's say sound, for example, or visual stimulus like traffic, for example. A lot of kids, like my son, for example, if you bring him close to busy traffic, he's really excited and he loves it, and he's making lots of noise and he's flailing his arms around as if he's just won the lottery.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I understood.
So we all have we have more than the normal senses, right? We think that human body just has like touch and smell and sight and all this, but we actually have like a whole, list of loads of different senses that are just more kind of
They say we have 8 and not 5.
specific,
Yeah.
So that's
like,
why some of them have the special skills.
synesthesia
That would
is
be-
another thing where you
that would be
mix.
savant autism you were talking about, which is where they'd have super skills,
Yeah,
but it's rare enough.
So yeah, like for example, if I bring him to the traffic, he's really stimulated visually by what's going on. So he's making a lot of noise and stuff because his excitement meter or his visual stimulus meter is like overflowing, like a cup. You can imagine the, I don't know, like the hormone or whatever chemical the brain is producing. It's filling up the cup and it's overflowing everywhere. So he's going, whoa, 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 like mad, and he's loving it. So that's why you would perceive a lot of kind of different behavior, let's say, in an autistic child. In a group of children, you would notice a lot of different behaviors because their body and their sensory system works completely different, right? And they would have also like really hyper interests in specific things because certain things would please them or excite them a lot, So they will do like people will say, oh, autistic kids have very repetitive behavior. Well, it's because something that they are very stimulated by, they're going to do it all the time because they love it.
And
so
it's
if
their
that's
love language as well to you, they'll express those special interests to you, and that's their love language. So I know with my son, he's mad about, say, Godzilla and SpongeBob right now. So if he met you and he liked you, he's going to overload you with Godzilla. The first movie was 1933, and that's what you're going to get. And that means you're all right, I kind of like you, because he's sharing that special interest with you. Whereas people who don't understand the spectrum might go, why is this kid just spouting a load of random facts at me? But it's actually a form of love language as well as something that they really enjoy. I don't know, have you heard the train analogy? No?
Train no.
No. As I am. Have you heard the train analogy?
Go for it.
As I am used the train analogy. So say we put you on a train in the middle of Tokyo. Okay? You're on the train. What happens on the train? It's really crowded. It's noisy. People are touching off you. Someone's wearing perfume. Someone else is eating, I don't know, a burrito. It stinks. It's really loud. There's, fluorescent lights. It's really noisy. You get off. Everybody disembarks. Everybody goes all their opposite ways. You look around. You look at the signs. You don't understand the signs because you don't speak Japanese.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first logical thing you do is go to a person and say, hey, I need help. I don't know where I'm going. But I suppose looking at that person, you don't know by their body language whether they're happy that you stopped them or whether they're angry that you stopped them. So that's your first issue. So you're anxious. Then they start speaking in, I suppose, what we would call Irish slang, but in Japanese. So like you don't understand the phrases they're using, you don't understand the language they're using, which makes you more anxious.
Okay.
And then I suppose you decide, I'll just go my own way because he's not really helping. You go your own way.
And they've been through that actually. Coming
Exactly,
to Ireland
yeah.
with basic English. They've been in those situations.
Yeah. So it's like that. It's just, and then you go, I'll just go my own way. I'll find my own way. And you're back at square one again. And that's kind of like the basic train analogy of what it might feel like to have autism on a daily basis in every interaction that you have.
And that would be why the kids would play on their own a lot, I guess.
Exactly.
Because other kids would come up to them and be like, hey. And they're like not answering because they're like, leave me alone. I'm focusing on this thing over here. I'm busy playing with this leaf. And the other kid is coming over and going, come on, let's play with the ball. And the other kid is like, no, I'm like examining the details of this really interesting looking leaf. Why are you annoying me? And he's thinking that, but he's not saying anything to the other child. And the child is like, then looking at me, looking at the dad and going, why is your son not talking? Okay. It's like, and I have to explain to another child and say, well, actually, he still hasn't developed language yet, so he's not going to answer you with words. He's going to answer you with like his eyes, for example. He's going to look around at you and go, he's basically saying, with his eyes, like, that's what he's trying to say. Like, so you better have just leave him alone, or maybe have a look at the other leaf, and maybe you might learn something. You might learn something, And that's kind of where, when I learned about that kind of approach, is where I started to get a lot of progress with my son. So like, there was a lot of things that you would have learned at the beginning, which was like the wrong way to do it. Like people say, remove all of the different things that he's super focused on, because this is kind of a roundabout way of saying it, but a lot of people try to like fix autism.
Yeah.
Okay, so and there's like the Autism Speaks organization in the US, for example. They go around this touting that there's an idea that certain ways can cure autism because it's a problem or it's a disease, right? But it's not. It's a genetic thing. You're born autistic. You're different.
Yeah, it's not a
Get
thing
over
about
it.
Like you have to something you have to fix, but give the right direction. Like
give them the support they need and the direction they
Yeah.
need, the resources they need
And
to
then
process the world.
Adapting our own, like we expect autistic people to communicate the way we do.
Okay.
But why don't we communicate the way they're comfortable communicating? There's that side to it as well. Is if you know somebody's not comfortable with you touching them, don't touch them.
Okay.
If you know someone's comfortable with certain things, do that. Make those accommodations. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
But
sometimes I think for some people it's hard to do the simple thing.
That's true. That's true.
And that's where you get the bridge from awareness to acceptance. So that's exactly what you just touched on there. Like
just do the simple thing.
Like if I told you before we came that I had certain sensitivities to, I don't know, bright lights or like loud sounds or something, you could say, okay, I'm aware James said he was like sensitive to like lights and sound, but yeah, whatever. And like we just came in, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh man, I have to put on my sunglasses in the middle of the podcast, or I was like, this is really loud, and I was like fidgeting. You'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe I need to accept that he is actually uncomfortable with this, and like adjust things, and maybe like turn down the lights or turn down the sound or something to make me comfortable. That would be accepting that I'm just wired differently than you are.
Yeah.
that's the bridge between awareness and acceptance, and that's what we were talking about earlier, and what we tried to kind of get across to everybody, that like the beginning of all of the approaches from science and from medicine and from doctors and psychologists and everything was all about changing the autistic kids to make them like another neurotypical kid. We say neurotypical because they are the typical way a brain is typically constructed and typically functions, whereas a neurodiverse child, ADHD, attention deficit disorder, autism, anything, OCD, epilepsy, they're all neurodivergences. So a brain which is just wired differently. You can't poke it, prod it, coach it, medicate it so that it's going to look like another brain. It's just always going to be that way. You need to give it the support.
There's consequences.
Big consequences.
So like you touched on Autism Speaks, they would promote, I suppose, conversion therapy. So, you know, gay men or gay people would have been put in conversion camps to make them not gay. That's what Autism Speaks would
shock
do.
therapy.
Yeah, I thought about this when you say like
in America,
trying to fix what is unfixable, you know.
In America, they even use shock therapy in some places. Electric shocks in the brain of kids. Seriously.
All days.
Today.
Yeah,
today.
Oh no, right now, there's a
Today.
school that they're trying to close in the States that are still.
That's insane.
Shocking. Yeah.
Wow. No.
Yeah, because they want you to conform. You know, they want you to look like, and you know, some of the services still teach some of those things. Like I know whole body listening. Did you do whole body listening in your service to your kids? I don't know. That's like basically whole body listening would be the concept of like, if I'm listening to you, I have to look at you, and I can't move. So like, keep your hands still, look at you, you know, look in your direction, listen. So I'm not making any noise, and they would teach that to autistic kids as a social skill.
Okay.
But obviously what you're doing there is actually making them more uncomfortable, because a lot of autistic people would say eye contact is really uncomfortable. Now, not all. Some autistic people like it. And obviously then if you're saying keep your hands still, you're saying you can't stim, where some people might just do that so that they can actually tolerate having a conversation. So what they're teaching you there is don't be yourself. Suppress those autistic traits and do what we say, so that you fit in, you know, and that's stuff that like there are things that are still being taught in our health systems.
Okay.
When you can get them.
Oh my God.
But they're still
and I think as a parent, we just want the best for our kids. So when you put the word autism on Google, it comes a lot of things, and and it's really hard for us understand where do we go. So
there is no awareness.
No,
like
I think when you put it in Google, it's all tragedy. It's awful, and it's this and it's that.
There's even an industry around it, because you see, you have all of these distraught parents, lost parents. So like, especially in America, there's a book called Neuro Tribes. You should read this book, and it talks about this big industry around, you know, fixing the kids for these parents, because these parents are lost and they don't know what's going on. But in matter of fact, all they need to do is change their approach, accept their kid is different, and things are going to be fine, you know. Maybe their child might not learn to speak with language, but that's okay. He's still your child. He's still beautiful. He's still an amazing person, you know. He's still going to do amazing things in his life, you know, and people need to accept that that's the case, and give them the support, give them the resources if you can access them, you know, which we can talk about that as well. But, you know, it's about acceptance, you know. It's about society accepting them, not trying to change or fix them. And this is what I will touch on a couple of times, like, because it's a really important point for everyone who doesn't know anything about it, that, you know, you need to be careful if you have, like, for example, friends who might have an autistic child, to not be rude when you're speaking about it, or not, like, expect that those parents conform with their child, or that their child conforms. I saw, like, a few days ago in Brazil, there was I think he was actually a well-known guy. He was in, like, a really big, like, church gathering, and there was, like, loads of children there, and he has an autistic child. The autistic child was having a sensory overload, so, like, all of the noise and the smells and everything, and she had, like, a bit of an episode, and she was, like, screaming and crying, a meltdown, and they asked the family to leave. They told the family to go home, like.
Oh yeah, I understood.
You remember this?
Yeah. Because I didn't see this news, but now I got you.
Instead of saying, like, do you guys need somewhere quiet to go for a moment? Like, this would be the accepting way to say, look, we have a quiet room over here. How about we bring her? Would you guys like to go over there and calm her down?
Where was that?
Is that okay?
It was, I don't know.
Was in Brazil.
Yeah, it was in Brazil. I don't know which town.
It was in the
media.
The
north. But I think that this is confused with not politeness, that it seems that people think that you don't educate your child.
Oh yeah. That's
When they have,
but that's ridiculous. Like you
think,
cannot kick out a children,
No.
a kid, like just
Yeah.
because it's screaming, you know.
And there is a difference in like for the autist, when they is their way of communication. When they I see my daughter when she's crying because she can't verbally express what she's feeling, so she's going to use her power of cry as a communication. So I understand, so I try to understand what she needs and what she wants, and not like shout at her or anything. And I hope whoever is watching me around have this impression, not that I'm not a good mom because my daughter is shouting.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we want from society.
There's a lot of myths. I
Have
think,
you
around
came
it.
with a situation like
Autism.
that? Have you
All the
you know?
time.
Oh God,
All
yeah.
the
the
time.
Really?
people look at you and I ignore, but
I'm
the
not
things that
so
I keep
polite
calm.
anymore.
Let's say Victoria is like, I say, Vicky, do you need? So
You have to, though.
they see that I'm not losing my mind because she's crying or anything, but people look. Then I'm there. I'm not letting her cry, and I am explaining to her. But people still need to learn how
Like when a
time.
child is upset like that, all you can do in that moment is be there for them because they don't feel calm. And you know, if you yell at them, they don't hear you because everything that's gone on around them, sensory overload, whatever they're dealing with in that moment, they're not hearing you say, "Stop! You're making a show me." Blah, blah, blah. They don't hear that.
And then you have to stop
You have
like
to-
physically or
Well, no, don't.
No, don't.
That makes it worse. The worst.
Never.
Yeah,
there are
not to-
cases.
Yeah, you come down, you sit with them or whatever. If they'll allow you to touch them, whatever. Because every autistic person is different, so what they will like will be different. But you just have to be there and be calm. You have to be what they call co-regulated. So if you're upset and anxious and angry, your child's not going to calm down, and that
gonna make
goes
it
for
worse.
any child.
Okay.
But especially an autistic child, if you're yelling, they're not going to calm down. You have to calm down, sit with them, just know that they know they're safe, and then they will calm down when they're ready to, and you can move on. And the problem is when people, I suppose what you mean is when they step in and be like, oh, she doesn't have control of her child, or look at her, she's going, oh, stop, Victoria, stop, when she should be going, which, yeah. Now I'm not so polite. I'm just like,
But it happens every day. This happens every day, Thales. Like it happened this morning to me. He wasn't upset, but he was loud. You know, like I was in the supermarket. I go to Tesco with him every Saturday morning, and he loves mandarins, like small oranges, you know. And like so, he's really excited when we go to Tesco because he knows we're about to get them, and he can eat them in the trolley when he's sitting in the thing, you know. And he's like, and I'm trying to encourage him to learn to speak, so I have to encourage him to make noises. I'm hardly going to suppress it. If he's making the sound like really loud, that's the beginning of him saying more correctly. So I'm encouraging him. I don't give a shit about anybody in the supermarket, and they can hear me a mile away because we're coming along, and he's like, like really loud, you know, and everyone's like looking over. I don't care anymore, like because if I did, we'd never get anywhere. I wouldn't leave my house.
He
you
probably
know?
gonna feel like I'm wrong person in the place, you know.
And that's the big thing would be when you put those limits on your child, when society, I should say, tells your child to behave in a certain way. There is mental health consequences, and there is self-esteem consequences, and
That's why
that's another crisis that we are going to be dealing with. I think 20 years from now is a generation of kids who were suppressed, told to behave a certain way, and then the parents who dealt with the lack of services and everything else. We're going to have a mental health crisis dealing with all those because we weren't accepting and we didn't say, all right, you're just a little different, fine.
Would you not think that any of your friends that you might know, or people that are friends of friends or whatever, that are adults now in their 30s, that suffer from severe depression, 30 years ago when they were a child, they were different and they were suppressed.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why now, as adults, they don't feel like they fit in at all, and they hate themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, because we've told them they're
yeah.
wrong,
Because
they're
we've told them
broken.
their whole life that they're broken.
They were bullied at school.
They were bullied at
Yeah,
school.
we recognize,
home.
at home, and even
But it's strange, like as a society, why those things like became repetitive? Like the years pass and we are having
Conformity, like she said, society wants people to conform. It's easier for a government to run a country if everyone just goes to school and fits into different boxes. You're going to be a scientist. You're going to be a policeman. You're going to be a bus driver. You're going to be a teacher. You're going to be whatever. So society was always made this way from the Industrial Revolution became all of the different systems that we have in place in education. The church, the government, everybody was trying to make good citizens that would fit into nice little boxes. And you just have a little label. You're a doctor. You're a scientist. You're a whatever. And that's the little world that we live in, you know. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Like, humans are complicated. Humans are diverse. Humans want to break out of labels. Nobody likes having a label, you know. Well, I don't. People say, what do you do for a living? I love being able to say I'm an entrepreneur. Why? Because I'm a creative person. I'm not going to do the same thing forever. I can't. It's just the way I am. Like, I've done lots of different things. You know, I've been a chef. You know, I've been a business owner. I've traveled. I've been a musician full time. God knows what else I've done. I've a list of about 20 different things. If I was to put everything on my CV, they'd be like, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Can't hold
I
it
say
down.
like me, like people say that I know to do it. I know how to do everything. Like, I just know I just want to learn the nice things that I found in the world. Like,
It's boring to just do one thing for your whole life, you know? Oh yeah, I went to school and then I studied medicine and then I became a doctor and then I was just a doctor for my whole life. Maybe if that was your calling, great, right? But I don't know. For me, I think people are more different than that.
yes.
Deep down, I don't think that guy who's a doctor forever, is he really going to be fulfilled and happy, like just being a doctor? I don't know. I'd like to ask him to his face.
we see more of these things in our.
Like you're
in
talking
our
to a
so-
nurse here, James. How rude.
But you know, but you weren't
joking.
always a nurse, right?
Oh, well, I'm not now, so it's fine.
See, there you
Not a
go.
nurse anymore.
No, I gave up my career when my son was diagnosed.
Yeah, this is happening a lot with Brazilians when we move to Ireland. Like, people change their lives and change
Their
like
career,
everything. Yeah, their career. Like,
They decide-
I kept my career. Like, I'm a software engineer. I still work as a software engineer, but after work I do something very different.
You
like
do this.
Yeah. Even I don't get any money with this, but I met nice people.
Yeah,
But this is maybe you enjoy more.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
it's-
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
it's-
I think the
Why
best
not
thing
in
is
the
like have a
future?
conversation like that. Yeah.
But in the future can become, for example, it can become your job. You don't know.
Yeah. Maybe.
Because I can tell you about myself. I was working like as a business account manager, but then I started to sell English courses, and it was like, I'm just going to do as extra job to help people to come to Ireland. I did 1, 2, 3. Then I left my job and I kept this activity, for example. So can be the case, you know. And now I'm not in this business anymore. Then I was working in another job as an account manager again. But then I'm not leave as Rachel because after my son diagnosis, I said, no, in this moment, I have a bigger challenge and I need to focus on them and help them to achieve, like for them to feel better in this world. I'm going to explain as better I can because we have a very important commitment with them as we don't have services to help, so it's on us. But
And even if we did, we still kind of feel,
Absolutely.
even if we had like full-time access to like all the different therapies and stuff, I think as parents, we would still be like, no, my son still needs me to be there more than just before school and after school or whatever, you know? Like, I don't know if I can go back to working in a full-time job, to be honest, because someone needs to be there to bring him to school and someone needs to be there to collect him from school. And if there's a day when he can't go to school or, you know, next week, I think they have 2 weeks off. If I was in my full-time job, where would he go? You know what I mean? Not many people understand him. Not many people are going to embrace the way he is, you know? Like, it's hard, like, as a parent of a child who's neurodiverse, to find somebody who could actually even look after him, you know, if it wasn't the parents, you know? So I think as parents, we feel that we just need to be there, like, and that's why we'll leave our careers. We don't care anymore because they're our kids. We love them too much. We don't care. You could be making 200,000 a year. You'd be like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. What am I going to do? Just pay some different person to raise my child? No. They need me. Yeah. You know.
And money is money. I believe is something you can get late in the sense, but time. The time is now. The time they need us is now. So
especially when they're young. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially so. No worries. I said I'm getting back there, but in this moment has to be us to be there.
One question: They always will need someone to be beside them.
No. That's
if
the
you
goal,
support them young and they get the support when they're young and have, you know, the self-esteem and the confidence and the accommodations, they could be like you or I. Elon Musk just came out as autistic.
Oh yeah, I know. Elon Musk,
He
Steve
needs no one.
Jobs, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all
Like,
of them.
yeah.
Messi,
all of
yeah.
them.
Yeah. So
Have
like,
autism.
yeah, that's the goal, is that for
Okay.
any child that you
Anthony
raise them well
Hopkins,
enough
the
that
actor,
they
yeah.
feel supported enough to be like, yeah, okay, I'm walking away, leave me alone. See you on Sunday. You know, that's the long term goal for
Okay.
any child, is that you raise them to be who they are, you know, who they want to be, and confident enough that they actually don't really need you. As much as it breaks my heart. That is the goal.
Yeah, that's my.
But as Rachel is saying, but it's important now. We can't just leave them there. Oh, they're different. No, we need to do a lot of things, and as a society, as a family, as at the school, neighbors, and also we expect the health system wherever we live also to help us. So.
Yeah, but let's what?
That's me.
Okay.
The audio. Sorry.
Oh yeah, all right. No problem. But let's talk about the solution of the problem. Where we have to start it. Like, in your opinion, Rachel.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I suppose I'll tell you why I started FUS. So I had an interaction with the services with my son where I expressed that I was concerned about his mental health and I was concerned about his self-esteem, because he's at an age now where he is kind of starting to understand what a diagnosis of autism means for him. He's starting to understand that people see him as different, but sometimes he internalizes that and turns it in on himself and makes it like a bad thing. You know, because we as society tell him it's a bad thing, and it's about lifting him up. So I suppose when I had the interaction with the services and I expressed that, I was told he's not a priority, because he's not actively, he's not like, who is?
Okay. That's James.
I can just feel what you felt when there's somebody said that to her.
Yeah, your
Like,
kid's
I
not
can
a
feel
priority.
what she felt like when somebody says those words to you. Like,
Yeah.
you don't matter. You're not important. Go away. What are you annoying me for?
So they said, yeah, he's not a priority
That's
because
ridiculous.
he's not actively trying to harm himself now. And I, you know, well, that's
Oh
the
my God.
goal is that he never gets there. You know, for any kid that he never gets there. And then I was told if he does, you know, go down that road where he harms himself, we are not an emergency service, so bring him to A&E. And that at that point,
That person should be
excuse my-
fired. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
no.
but that person should be fired.
You should be.
Yeah.
I suppose, excuse my language, but at that point I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I'm
fuck
done.
this.
We are burning this shit to the ground. Like this, I'm done. And I suppose to myself, I was like, I can't be the only one. You know, and I would know a few people that I've met, you know, over courses and whatever you do, through the services. And I just thought, there has to be more people out here. I can't be the only one that's struggling to get what we need. So yeah, that's where FUS was born. It was just like, okay, there's groups everywhere kind of fighting in their own areas, which is fantastic. There's people, you know, getting school places in their areas, or, you know, fighting for therapies in their areas. But what I think the problem is, the government see these little fires and it's like, oh, James is making a bit of trouble over there. Like, let's give him what he wants and he'll go away. He'll be quiet.
The problem
And
is,
then-
I told them straight out whenever they gave me their ear. I said, now you have my attention. I'm not here for myself.
no.
I'm here for everyone else in
Exactly.
Ireland. I don't know how many there is, because
Yeah.
you guys don't even have a system
No.
to be accountable for how many families there is properly. It's completely in crisis mode. It doesn't work.
No.
We're going to find out how many there are, and we're going to help everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
Like,
I'm
I'm
not just here for myself.
No, I'm past the point, I suppose, of fighting for my kids, because I know I can give them what they need. You know, we're lucky enough to be in a financial position where we can get private therapies, even though they're getting hard to get now as well. Yeah, we're in the position where we can get private therapies and we can support them. And, you
But
know,
there's a bunch of people that can.
yeah, exactly. There's so many people who, they don't have the financial means, they don't have the damn energy because they've been fighting for so long. They don't have the education, you know, or they've had hard lives themselves and they just are not in a position to do that. So
True.
for me, it's become a moral issue. You know, it's bigger than just my kids. It's bigger than just James's and Jackie's kids. It's at a point now where you're like, these kids have been ignored for so long. You know, the High Court just passed the ruling about the assessment of need, and all those kids that went through that now have to be reassessed. Like, that's 10,000 kids. They can't handle what they have, and that's 10,000 kids that have to go back and
When-
redo the whole thing again.
Yeah, so like the whole system, like even the fact that you have to wait for somebody just to look at you, fill out a piece of paper and that says what you need, already tells you that if you're waiting for years just for this process to happen, that something is completely broken, you know? Like the system currently, right? The reason that there's services and this conversation about services, we go back to the really, really basics for a minute. You have this sensory system, your body has it. It's operating in a way which you cannot control as a child, right? So you're having difficulty with social interaction, you're having difficulty following instructions, you're having difficulty speaking, you're having difficulty processing what people are saying to you. Lots of different things as a child. The reason that these children from a very young age, as young as possible, need what's called early intervention. It really shouldn't be called intervention because you're not intervening. Early supports, let's say, right? If we were to change the language around that. Sorry to be constantly trying to change all the concepts, right? But that's a part of the struggle. They need supports. So they need like someone who's qualified in speech and language therapy, for example, to they're basically, most of it is play. It's really, it's not this big stigma where like they're going to put them on a big hospital bed and like give them certain injections and then all of a sudden things are going to change. Like it's not this big medical procedure. Like all of the therapies that you actually witness are play therapies. It's just them learning how to sit down on the ground and play with your child in a specific way so that they can build those skills and learn those resources and techniques that they need to, let's say, process the information when somebody's asking them something or follow a command or say their own name or express when they're feeling pain or these different things that a lot of these kids have difficulty doing. So they need occupational therapy, which is mostly based around physical movements and your sensory things like feeling cold, feeling hot, feeling a rough surface, feeling a soft surface, all these different things. There's different activities and different games. It's mostly play that these kids are kind of taught or are made to do, let's say, in a specific playful environment to help them to regulate that sensory system. So you always really think about it like the sensory system that's, let's say, deregulated somewhat. So all of the therapies that these kids need, they're not like when you say the word therapy, you guys probably think of something like very like, oh,
clinical,
like very serious or kind of like, oh, therapy, and you know, you kind of think of it like that, right? It's actually mostly play. Like it's literally so like, and that's where what I would love to see in an ideal world would be like just the stigmas removed, you know. So when your child is really young, for example, here in Ireland, you have a public health nurse when your child is born that visits you every couple of months to check on the progress of your child. They weigh the child. How much does it weigh? Our child weighs such and such kilos. Oh, how high is, what's the height? Okay, oh, he's developing okay that way. How's he doing with, you know, is he making any sounds or whatever? And they know, man, Thales, they know from a very early age, like from my son, for example, when I look back at the videos, maybe 6 months old, I'm pretty sure the public health nurse spotted some stuff, like some behavior, some flapping of his arms or some noises. She knew, man, that it's like autistic. She knew. Yeah. But the system is made in a way that until they're 2 years old, you know, we can't say anything. It's a silly thing, like, right? So, and why not? If the bloody therapies are just different approaches as how you parent your child and how you play with your child, what's the problem? Why not tell me when my child is 6 months old? Oh, by the way, your child is neurodiverse. Congratulations. He's probably going to be the next Elon Musk. Guess what? In order for you to help him to get there, you're going to need to play with him differently. You're going to need to approach parenting differently. You're going to have to be aware of X, Y, and Z. Give me a bloody video course to watch or something. I don't know. Give me something. No, it's like, wait until they're 2, and then they're like, oh, we're going to refer you to this person over here. And then this person is going to refer you to this person.
Oh, I have a...
And then this person is going to refer you over to this person over here.
She's bringing out the file. She means business.
Who's going to get
What
this
is it?
much...
This is all the letters we get. Referrals, AO...
Oh, 3 months.
30
months.
23rd months waiting list.
So why all the waiting and all of the lists?
Early intervention team waiting list is about 28 and 30 months. How many?
Most kids age
Welcome
out
to
of
Ireland.
that system.
So you'd be 7 or 8 before they actually
And then you age out anyway.
intervene, right?
But you age out of that system when you're 6. As soon as you turn 6,
So,
early intervention.
You see, this letter I got the 8th of December 2020. Then there was update. Then it seems long, right? But then there was...
worse now.
It gets worse then. Okay,
No,
more
if-
letters,
yeah.
more like online courses they provide to us. There is this one.
The Brazilians are gonna understand
All
this word
the
for
letters.
caralho.
This is, and in my case, twins. I went through a lot of forms. You need to talk to a lot of people. Arriving nowhere, because if the therapists were arriving, fine, but nothing. So why
You go in
make me lose my
circles.
time doing this. So this is the assessment report service statement, which says my sons, they're gonna be reassessed and start the therapy in December 2023.
2023.
Wow.
But this is basically the document that they take years to produce that tells you what your child needs, right? From day one, they already know what you need. They already know you need occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, and child psychology.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
It's
physio
not.
sometimes.
And physio, maybe sometimes. They know already. There's no point in doing all of the paperwork. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
And for what?
It'd be like,
yeah.
you need to drive a car. Okay, well, what do I need to do to drive a car? You need to take driver's lessons, and then you need to pass the test and get the piece of paper that says you can drive the car.
Can
Okay,
have the car.
how do we do that? You fill out this form, and then we're going to refer you to this guy over here, right?
For
But you
another
have to wait.
form.
But you have to wait 16 months to see him. I was like, 16 months? I already have a car. It's like, yeah, no problem, but just wait. You fill out this other form, and then 16 months later, you go to this guy, and he says, oh, come in. Your appointment is 2 p.m., Thales. Come in. And you walk in, and you're like, I just want to drive the car. And they say, yeah, just sit down for a minute. I'm going to ask you a few questions. And they ask you a bunch of questions, and they fill out loads more paperwork, and they say, okay, Thales, just go home. We'll be in touch. And then you're like, okay. And you go home, and then you receive a letter like 2 months later that says, now you're on the waiting list for the early driving lessons course, which is going to happen 3 years from now. Okay? Just sit down and chill out for a while, and things are going to get better. And you're like, okay. And then, you're like, I'm going to sell my car before I get the driving lessons. What's going on? That's literally how we feel.
The problem in Ireland is
That's how we feel.
Yeah.
disability services
Like
for
stupid,
children.
like very stupid.
Like
Yeah.
stupid.
False
Yeah.
hopes.
The disability services in Ireland for children are grossly underfunded. So the government in 2021 did their own. They asked for this study, and it told them that they needed to invest 300 million to meet the unmet needs of children with disabilities. So their basic needs, and that's not accounting for population growth and etc. And that said that they should invest 300 million, and our government invested 50. So their own report said put this much in, and they went, nah, we'll do a quarter or an eighth.
But the thing is, we're all making enough noise now that we have the ear of the ministers.
You have to talk.
We have the ear of Thales on the podcast.
Yeah.
And thank you everybody for tuning in, by the way. Appreciate it, and
Yeah.
listening to us if you've listened this far, because it's probably boring for a lot of people, especially if you don't have kids. You're probably like, what are these crazy people talking about?
No, because it's the
I
future.
would,
It is.
I'd
It's
like
the
to say
future, as you said,
an
yeah.
advice that I think two or three episodes ago, our guest was a gay guy, and he came up like he faced a lot of issues with his parents,
Right.
and then he told us at the end of the episode, like to other people, like, think before you have kids. You like you and a partner have a kids, because it can born gay, lesbian, like, or with any other diversity.
Yeah.
So like be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Like if you have any
Yeah.
like preconception, or be prepared to open
Right.
your mind,
Yeah.
or be prepared to change yourself, or don't have a kids.
Great.
That was like his advice.
Yeah. Are you actually ready that your child is going to be different than you, probably? And are you ready to accept
I'm getting
them
ready
in
for
society,
that,
you know?
because I want to be a dad, but now and knowing
He's
this-
learning,
yeah,
yes.
like is this a thing that we have to think, because our life is gonna change anyway, like
Oh God, your life
Yeah.
totally changes when you have children.
yeah.
Like polar.
So
Even for
yeah.
neurotypical children, your life totally
Yeah,
changes.
of course.
And you change, and you should change. If
Yeah.
you don't change, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
The only constant
And,
is
and,
change.
and there is no way to find if my kids will have autism or not.
No.
There is no way. No way.
No. Before they're born.
Yeah.
No.
No, like for like
No,
me
in
and
our
my-
case, if you have the first one,
You're higher. I think it's 20% chance. If you've one child that's autistic, you have 20% chance of having the next child being autistic, and it goes
Yeah.
higher and higher and higher. But I suppose the problem with that would be you're going into the realm of eugenics, which is where they talk about eradicating genes. So like if we were to start doing studies where it was like, okay, Thales is going to have, he's 50% chance of having an autistic child, and you go, oh no, I'm not going to have that. Then you eradicate autism completely. And there's some people who'd say, yeah, okay, we should be doing that. From my point of view, I'd be like, why? Why should we do that? You're basically saying an autistic life or a disabled life is not the same value as yours or as mine. And who are we to say that?
Yeah, I think what makes life nice is the random thing that happens now. Like you don't need to program your life like, oh no, I'm gonna have this kind of kids. Or no, like
Yeah.
The kid will come and let's play the game now.
Exactly.
Be prepared for the game, just that.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a dark road.
Yeah, I know.
What you're just saying there, like I don't even want to get into stuff that I've heard about, like, you know, eugenics and this kind of stuff, like, because I don't want to get into it. Like, it is actually like sickening, that kind of thinking, and
I know.
you know, people do think like that, and unfortunately, that's kind of symptomatic of like evolution of society from like the war times, Industrial Revolution, all of this kind of stuff, and it's like, these people are not conforming. Can we not just delete them? You know, that's where, like, you know, crazy thinkers like Hitler come into power.
Yeah,
you know?
I would say that's like
these guys aren't from the Aryan super race, so like, what are they even doing existing? Can we not just put them on trains and put them to the gas chamber? Come on, guys, this is so annoying. All these people over here, they're just so different. You know, like, we can't think like that, man. Like, you know, we're humans. We're all different. You know, so many different colors. You know, like, one of the things, if I do end up someday maybe getting into government in the future, like, one of the things that I would love to happen would be, in Ireland we have a year called transition year in school when you're like 16, and they do like random stuff like work experience or whatever, or you can just skip the year and just go to 5th and 6th year, and then you're finished school and you go to college, right? I think it's the perfect age to send the child to live in a completely different environment. I would love it to be a law.
James, that's like an autistic kid's nightmare.
No, well, there'd be exceptions. There'd be exceptions, but just
that would have been my nightmare.
Bear with me for a minute. Bear with me for a moment, right? The experience that I had living in Brazil, right, living in their country, okay.
Where did you live in Brazil? It's Salvador, isn't it?
Mostly in Salvador. But like, I'd traveled before, but to mostly like English-speaking countries or like other European countries where it's quite similar to Ireland. So it was like comfortable, you know. I could like speak English to people. I could, like, you know, easily just hop back on a Ryanair flight and go home. Like, it was like I was still kind of in my comfort zone, right? But the experience of living in a place where everything is completely the polar opposite and nobody speaks my language, right, was completely transformative to me as a human, because I am so much more aware and compassionate for other people's needs now, because I suffered to a certain extent, like communication wise, culturally, you know, socially, like in loads of different ways, and I had to force myself to evolve. And these guys, as Brazilians, know exactly what I'm talking about, because they've had to do it here. You have to not conform, like, you don't become like an Irish person when you're a Brazilian person living in Ireland, but you have to kind of you have to learn a lot of things about the way people speak, the way people greet each other, the way people talk,
a friend to
all
say,
of this
like,
different stuff.
Merge into the culture.
But you evolve, don't you evolve?
Evolve.
You, like, and the reason I know you evolve, and this is probably confirmed in science somewhere, is because when you go back, so like, for example, when I came back to Ireland, I was completely different. The first time I came back was 2 years later. I wasn't even able to have a normal conversation with my old friends anymore.
I know what you mean.
Because I just changed. I'd been through so much in Brazil in 2 years that, like, when I came back, it was just like, they were like, oh yeah, let's go to the pub, and just like everyone's just sitting around and like talking about football or something. And I was like, I don't even care about this stuff anymore. Like, I was just so bored.
I still care about football.
No, I still watch football.
He was caring about carnival.
It was just an example. No, I don't know. Just the life experiences that you go through from living abroad. So I think in school, it's the right age. When you're about 16, you think you know it all, right? When you're 16, you tell your parents, you're like, oh, I know everything. Your parents are like, no, you don't, you little shit. But you think you know it all, right? Send them to live in a country where they don't speak English, and send them with another family. And you could do an exchange where you could like send them to a family in, I don't know, like Spain or something, and then take the child from the same family and swap, and they could go and live in the other family's house, and they could stay and spend 6 months or maybe even more time living somewhere where they need to relearn how to adapt to a culture around them. They need to relearn a language on the spot. They need to improvise everything. Tell me I'm not lying. The experience that you guys have gone through here made you like twice the person you are.
Like, go to a place where you're gonna cry, your mom and not gonna see you.
Because you're gonna grow. And what happens when you go back? So the next generation of politicians, for example, who run the country in Ireland, will have all been through this experience, and they're going to be more compassionate and more aware of diversity, more aware of people's needs from different backgrounds, from different levels of poverty or wealth. They're just going to be more aware as people. They're just not going to be able to say, if the report came in and said, we need 300 million, we need to do this, these kids are being left behind. There's not going to be people there with the pen in their hand that are going to say, nah, we'll put 50. Those people are going to have been through those experiences in their life where they suffered and they needed help and other people helped them. And they're not going to be entitled people who just had everything they needed through most of their life, and then they became a politician or like, you know, whatever, somebody who's in those roles in the HSE and stuff. They're not going to be entitled people. They're going to be people who went through those experiences and they know what it's like to be left behind. They know what it's like to be hungry. They know what it's like to suffer. And they're going to be like, no, we need 300 million, put 500 million. That's probably underrated. We probably need more. Let's put 600 million. Let's do that report again. I don't think there's only 10,000. I think there's more. What about all the kids who slipped through the system? What about all the kids that we don't even know that they're there? We definitely need more. Let's say we need 50% more, you know?
When was it, in the sense, when they had to put 300 million and they put only 50 million?
Last year.
Last year. Okay. Because, and what about why people didn't start to do it before? 10 years ago, there was no one.
There's not enough of us, Jackie, you see. We're gonna make the change, and we're gonna grow as a group of other groups and other families and other little organizations are gonna be born from all of our activities, and more parents are gonna get involved, and we're gonna keep on pressuring them, and we have been getting some success with that. Even just recently, a lot of politicians have been like standing in the government repeating the words that she had sent to them in an email a few days ago. Pauline Tully said, like, a parent contacted me, and she was referring to Rachel. A parent contacted me.
Hounded me and she won't go
She
away.
did, yeah. Well, you can tell her. You can tell them what she said, but
So obviously through FUS I had gotten messages from parents who there's been a change with the way the assessments are done, and I won't go into it because it's too complicated and you'd be like, shut up. Trust me, most of the time I'm like, Rachel, shut up. So there's been a change in the way it's done, and parents had been contacting me saying, oh my god, my assessment's been cancelled, and these are assessments they've been waiting on 2-3 years. And it's been cancelled because of this High Court ruling, because the HSE failed to tell the therapists working in these areas how to proceed. So they didn't know what to do. So they just stopped doing everything. So I just got in contact with Pauline and I said, look, I've got at least 10 parents. I can name all the areas. You know, their assessments have been cancelled. What is going on? You know, like nobody's given direction. HSE ain't given direction. Like they're all confused. So in fairness to her, she brought it up. She was supposed to bring it up to Stephen Donnelly, but he didn't turn up.
of course.
Shock. I actually think we should do a welfare check on Stephen Donnelly, see if he's alive. But yeah, she brought it up in the Dáil, and their answer was, Minister Rabbit is dealing with that. That was it. So then I had tagged in, actually in that email that I sent to Pauline Tully, I had copied Anne Rabbit and stuff in. And yeah, she eventually then, Anne Rabbit obviously came back to me yesterday I think, and said, what areas are they in? So I sent her a list, and I think there was one CHO, so one area in Ireland where they grouped counties that wasn't affected. And which CHO was it?
South Dublin.
No, have a guess. Better guess.
Galway.
Galway.
Which is where the minister is from.
Oh.
That's all I'll say. So yeah, that was the only CHO that wasn't affected, was her own. And that tells you everything.
Yeah.
So, but I suppose
They
the
know
good
all
thing,
about this kind of
yeah,
corruption, you know.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they come from
We-
a society
yeah.
where this is
So guys,
nepotism
it's
and
not
all
only
this kind of
Brazil we
stuff.
have corruption, you know.
Yeah.
It's not only Brazil. Dude.
ours is just
Yeah.
white collar, blue collar. What do they call it? I don't know. But yeah, I suppose we had a small victory yesterday, as in she emailed me back, and we got a directive from the HSE. Now the other side of that coin, which is, I don't know if you saw that, was I shared that directive, and I got a lost count of speech and language OT physio who got in touch with me and were like, never seen it. So there are
She
people
means
working in the
directive
services.
The directive was like a message
memo.
which was supposed to
This
be
is what
sent
you do.
to everybody who was, what she discovered was doing nothing, because the court had decided this assessment process that we talked about was not being done correctly. So the court said this, so then all of the people who do these assessments just stopped doing any assessments and cancelled all the appointments.
Because they were in a legal, they're in a legal grey area. If they'd have kept doing them, they'd have been in trouble, but they weren't told to go back to the old way of doing them either. So they were in a grey area. But we got the directive, so the HC basically sent out, yes, do it this way. So go back to the old way until we tell you otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when I shared that, most of the therapists had never seen it.
So they'd never received
They'd
this
never
letter.
received it. So then you're going, who was it sent
you
to?
start
Was it
thinking,
sent? Is it real?
You
So
don't
there's a
believe it's
broken
true.
system.
Exactly.
Sometimes
The
I
system.
don't believe this is happening in a European country.
Yeah.
As I said, you go through all these forms, all these assessments. You have the report, and then that's it. You don't hear
lot
from
of
them
work.
anymore. I don't hear from them anymore. They don't call me to say, hi, how are your sons are doing? Do you need any support, any advice? Zero. Zero support. So this is, and I think the waiting list for 2-3 years. I mean, has to be over. I think at least 6 months. I would consider. Okay, I wait for 6 months, then my son starts a therapy. At least one therapy, one time, 1 hour per week, speech therapy, 1 hour occupational therapy, and we have a team. I mean, this has to be put in place.
That won't happen until they put the money in. So until they fund it properly, until they recruit. So the problem is right now, all of the teams are running at about 50%. So they have half the staff that they should have. And even when they have the full quota of staff, it's still not enough for the amount of children that we have.
What they say they should have. So they'll say we need 15 or 14 in this team. Yeah. Because they say this is how much therapy that a child would need, which is a block of 4 to 6 weeks, they say. Yeah. No, most of the children, they need to be accompanied for most of their life.
Definitely most
of their youth life.
And it's calculated per population, but obviously not taking into account that like Cork and Kerry are like the worst affected region. But they still get the same amount of therapists as Galway, who don't seem to have any problems. Yeah. Well, obviously there is problems.
So even if they had 100% of the staff, which I think brings it up to 1,300 or something like that, it's still only going to meet the amount of therapy that they have decided, or somebody at one point has decided, who's probably not a parent of an autistic child or a child with any kind of disability, I guarantee you, has decided that this is how much that should be delivered. What now happens, because there's much less than the 100% staff, so like there's a team that's supposed to be 14 or whatever, and there's like 5. When you get to the top of these lists, right, what happens? They go, fucking hell, we got these 5-6 families here with like 5 children, right? So 5 different groups of families. Let's just get them all together and let's just give them the More Than Words program, which is this parent training program, essentially for a number of weeks. And there's a couple of one-to-one sessions with your child as well, and they videotape it and then they give you feedback. So they teach you some of the techniques that I was telling you about. It's literally just parenting your child differently. Eventually, after years, you'll get there at the top of the list. And at the moment, mostly what's being delivered is just parent training. So even if you get to the top of the list, because they're so understaffed, they actually can't say, okay, Jackie, come in with your twins once a week for the next 6 weeks, and we'll actually do one-to-one therapy sessions with your kid. When she gets to the top of the list, they're probably just going to offer parent training. Like, look, you've already left your job anyway. You might as well become the full-time therapist.
And this is...
And I've spoken to so many therapists who are working in those services, and they're so disillusioned. They're so stressed. They're so burnt out. One in particular that I spoke to said she had to call a family that hadn't been seen in 5 years and say, I can offer you a course after 5 years. And she said, you have no idea what it's like picking up the phone when you went, and I can relate as a nurse, you went into a job where you want to help people and you want to do what you were trained to do to make people's lives better.
When they rang me and said that. I thought they were joking.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
In January.
To be honest, you're like, I'll laugh because I'm going to cry. But yeah, like she said, you're picking up a phone to say 5 years later, like, this is what I can give you. And like, then they get abused, which from a parent's point of view, you're like, I get it, you're angry, you're upset. But from their point of view, it's like, it's not their fault, and until those issues are addressed with recruiting the staff and retaining the staff. So like staff leave because, if you work on one team, it's differently paid from another team. So there's no consistency across the board. So if you work for Enable Ireland, for example, you earn about $5,000 less than if you worked for a HSE team. And then HSE staff would get a pension and better leave, whereas Enable Ireland, they wouldn't get a pension. So if a job comes up there, you're going to go, fuck this, I'm going there. And then, they can't progress in their careers. So there'll be people like doing physio for 10 years and they're still getting paid like what they would have got when they come out of college, because they've gotten rid of the panelling to go up to senior positions. So like, until we tackle those things, it's not going to change. Because like, I wouldn't work in a job when I knew James was getting $5,000 more than me for doing the same thing, but a kilometre up the road. You're going to go, no. So I totally see their side of things. And until all of those issues are tackled, our issues aren't going to be tackled. It's very complicated.
And I think even the coach, I don't think the staff, as I said, because usually the autistic parents, we don't understand, as you said, you can have a lot of anger. So I guess all the staff would need a coaching, for example, helping them how to deal with parents, how to deal with kids with additional needs. Yep. And there isn't this support to the staff to keep the staff. I think would be important to have someone in a positive way helping them to deal as well, because it's a big mission and a big challenge for the staff. I also believe on that. And
we need them as well. If they've chosen that as their
they
career,
chose,
chose their career to be the people, those professionals that we need as parents. So like we need to appreciate. They need to be appreciated. They need to be paid well.
Yeah.
They need to be supported. If they have
supported,
emotional issues, like delivering those difficult news at the moment. Because if the system is this way at the moment, and all they're delivering is after 5 years a parent training course to a family, the family's going to be pissed off, and they're going to have to listen to that over the phone. So they also need, mental health support, emotional support. So like,
also that.
Yeah. We need it as parents too, like dealing with everything, but they also do too. Like I don't think they should be forgotten, because then they will leave, or they'll just be like, I don't even want to be a speech and language therapist anymore. I'm just gonna do something else. This is just too stressful.
Or they leave the country and do it.
They go elsewhere,
Yeah.
So we have to hire from abroad. We need to do some kind of recruiting process where we bring in thousands more professionals from abroad, and we need to find a new way to deliver the services, and I think the government needs people who are parents like us, who are passionate about it, to be involved in changing the system, because otherwise, like, they'll just change the system based on a legal requirement. I think so. Like the courts will say, oh, you shouldn't be doing the assessments this way, you should be doing them that way, and they'll go, okay guys, yeah, no problem, and they'll change, and then they'll do different paperwork, or they'll do new forms, and then everything will just recycle again, and we just, nothing will ever change. It needs to be completely analysed from the top to the bottom, every single step of the system, and say, yeah, look, this is actually, I don't know how this happened, why this was made, this bit of this system here, but this is completely unnecessary. We don't need all the paperwork. If the kids are autistic, the parents probably have difficulty as well, like different traits that weren't diagnosed. They probably hate forms. They probably find it very difficult to fill out a form. I know I do. I put it off sometimes. I put it off for days, weeks sometimes, because it's so stressful to fill out a form.
Well, the forms are depressing.
They're depressing.
They're like,
they're focused on.
They focus on negatives and the things your kids can't do. It's not like, well, what can your kid do? Because like there is so many positive things about autism and positive traits of autism and strengths, but nobody ever focuses on the strengths. It's all, oh, your kid can't talk. Your kid can't, like,
comparing them.
He can't talk. He can still communicate.
Can't jump. Can't
them, right?
Point.
Exactly.
Can't.
So they're comparing them to these like developmental milestones that like a typical child should learn how to jump at a certain age, should learn how to say mommy and daddy at a certain age, and then they're like, can your child now say this? Can your child now do this? That's what the forms are, and you're like, this is so depressing. Like, why am I focusing on all the things that my child can't do? Like, what use is this going to be when they actually see my child face to face in a therapy session? What use is all these things that I'm telling them that my child can't do? What use is that to them? They need to know what the hyper focuses of the autistic person are, so they can use them as a vehicle to interact with the child. If the form was like, what's the repetitive behavior that your child does? What does your child love? Oh, he loves running water and he loves spinning objects. Okay, great. Thank you. Just one question. The form could just be one question. Yeah. And then whenever they get them in the room, they already have spinning toys, they already have flashy lights, and they already have running water. And then all of a sudden the child wants to be in the therapy session, and the therapist can sit down, and in 45 minutes they could have a lot of progress with the child. And
the thing is, like, I would be, well,
right?
not me,
Am I
but
right?
you're right, 100% right. My son would be, he's 8, so he's diagnosed 6 years. So we're 6 years on this
merry-go-round
journey. And like, we've been doing private therapies with him for 6 years, and sitting here, like, my son would have been like James's son. He didn't speak, and that was the first flag for us, was that we were like, oh, he's not talking, that's odd. And I would have family members who are autistic, so when he didn't talk, it was kind of like, okay, that might be an issue. So I would have had a little bit, not a lot, a little bit, and that was the first flag. My son, if it was left to the HSA, he still wouldn't be talking. If that's all I had to depend on, he wouldn't be talking. So for me, I know therapies work. Like, I know speech and language works. I remember vividly the first time he ever said, "Night, Mom." I was like, don't move. It was like statue in the door going, what just happened? Or like,
how
you
did
do.
it feel?
Yeah.
How did
it feel? I can't describe it. I'll probably sob if I start thinking about it now, to be honest, because you long for those words, and I know you shouldn't. I know you should appreciate the way your child communicates once they're communicating, but you do. You long for those words, and I'd be a liar if I sat here and said I didn't long for them. I'd be a liar. I'd be a hypocrite. I did long for them. I longed for him to be like, love you, Mom, whatever. And I remember vividly any time at like his first few, and the therapies work. He did speech and language for years, all privately. Doesn't need it anymore. He doesn't do speech and language anymore. He's 8 now. He does OT and he does play therapy, and they work. And that's the key, when you're seeing the results. And like, we're lucky enough that I have parents that will be like, give us a dig out, because obviously I'm not working, my husband's a mechanic, so wages aren't massively high. But we are just lucky that we're in a position where our parents are like, slide you a bit of cash for the service.
From what you're saying, in my opinion, I see that the people that are managing this kind of stuff, there's nothing related with people with neurodiversity. Like,
they're not.
I think like they have to have a kid with a neurodiversity.
Then they were gonna understand.
On the
gonna-
exactly, or even on the panel, like, so all, you know, diversify your management, so that in your management there's a neurodiverse person or a disabled person, all of the above, actually. Sorry,
A requirement.
You know,
It should be a requirement.
exactly,
It should be
because-
at least half of the management
yeah,
of any of the disability services. At least half of the management, if
Should.
not all of them,
Yeah.
to be honest, should have a personal connection with the cause.
yeah.
It's something that should be
Yeah.
a calling for them. It should be a cause that they're passionate about. Otherwise, they're just there, just pressing a few
Yeah.
buttons, sending a few emails
like
like
me
any other
talking about-
job.
Like, I
You
have
know-
nothing
You know?
with this. Like, I don't even
Yeah,
see
it's like me
yeah.
talking about wheelchair access. You know, when I don't use a wheelchair, you know, like obviously I will listen to
Yeah.
people who are wheelchair users, and you listen to, you know, that's why I would be very pro listen to autistic adults. That's where I would learn most of my information,
Same.
because that's where the information of value is. A book can tell you so much, but an autistic person who writes a book can tell you a hell of a lot more. You know, so that's where you should be
Temple
getting.
Grenadine and all those people.
Yeah, that's where you should be getting. And Instagram is like, as much as I have a love-hate relationship with social media, Instagram is flooded with autistic, like actually autistic. If you just search that hashtag actually autistic, you will get tons of advocates who are actually autistic. And that's where you learn the most, because you can't understand what it's like to be on the inside of an autistic body when X, Y, or Z is happening, but they can give you an insight into that. And all we need to do is listen. And we ask, like, we're a bit performative with our allyship in Ireland, where we'll be like, oh, what can I do to help? And then we'll do it on Autism Day. So I guarantee you tomorrow, Anne Rabbit's not going to be posting shit about autism. Like, I can guarantee you. She's going to be like, okay, all right, done.
Your man
Ticked.
Roderick O'Gorman didn't even post anything.
Don't even get me
He didn't
started
even
on that
post
road.
anything today.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the head minister of
Who?
Roderick
Roderick
O'Gorman.
yeah, I talked to him
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, but he didn't post
Yeah,
anything today,
yeah,
like
yeah,
on
yeah.
his social media. He
Yeah,
posted
yeah.
something else about school or whatever.
But I suppose at least he wasn't doing the performative thing of, oh, I'll stick it up on World Autism Day and then forget about
Yeah,
it tomorrow.
because he
So
probably doesn't even know much about it.
no,
You know?
Yeah.
yeah. And that's
You
the
know.
problem, is we're very performative, as in we'll do it. It's like Black Lives Matter. We did it for a while, and now everybody seems to have forgotten, when it's not an issue that's gone away.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not cool now, or it's not trendy.
No, I heard an autistic lady saying that April is the month of tourist people that are like tourists. They everyone is caring about us, but then in May, boom,
Yeah, be
everyone
gone.
it's gone.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I was talking to Roderick O'Gorman yesterday. So the communication with him started because I live in Dublin 15. So I raised to him, okay, I'm in this position. I have twins. I
So
am
because he's a TD as well as a minister. So a TD in the government is like in Brazil would be like let's say like a deputado federal for like one region.
Okay.
So he's also a deputado for region for West Dublin.
Okay.
But he's also minister for children, disabilities, inclusion, youth, and something else. It's like a lot
Disability,
of titles.
and
but-
integration. I think.
So he's got like two responsibilities. He's got to keep the people happy who live in Dublin West, and he's also got to do the ministerial
Is he keeping you happy,
responsibilities.
Jackie?
So when she emails
no,
him,
not really.
no, I'm just saying why he engaged with her, and for
Yeah.
example didn't engage with me,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
because she said
We're not going to vote for him.
Dublin
I
She
lived
is.
in Dublin 15, so
Yeah.
the secretary was like, oh,
Yeah.
constituent. The word is constituent. It means you're a voter from this part of
Yeah.
the country.
She'll vote for
Yeah,
him.
you're
We
from
can't.
my side of the
We
city.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
You're
can't
from
bring
my
him
side
back.
of the city. So
Yeah.
now,
Dublin 15. You
Yeah.
see, you know who contact if you have any problem. No?
There
Dublin.
you
just
go.
beside here.
No,
Oh, yeah,
they
if you
will, they
cross
will
the street,
engage.
we are
Yeah.
Dublin 15.
They will
Yeah.
engage though.
But,
If
yeah,
you-
but did you get your copy and paste? Tell us, what did you get?
Yeah.
I need
No,
to
no.
know.
Sorry,
No,
I
no.
just wanted to tell them why she got his ear and I didn't, for example, because she
He's
lives in-
upset with him.
I wanted to talk to the guy as well and put him,
No, sure.
ask him questions. You know what I mean? I like asking these guys questions
Roger,
because they
if
will
you're
engage.
Mm-hmm.
They will engage. You know, if you ever have a problem with something here and you look up who's my local TD
Okay.
and find there's like a few because there's all the different parties and talk to them, they'll engage with you and you'll say like, oh, there's some problem here with whatever on the street or whatever, and they'll be like, okay, let's contact the guards and they'll engage with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
engage, but let's see if they. Anyway,
Right.
We
so
have to
he,
pay for this.
he was
Sorry for
offering.
that.
So
No.
he gets voted back in and he gets his
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm cynical. James is still a bit of idealism, I think, going on with that. I'm
try.
past there, man.
I try.
So anyway, he was offering like Zoom meetings with. I saw a post of him saying, "Oh, I'm free to speak with everyone who lives in Dublin 15 about your issues," and he would talk through Zoom. Then I said, "Okay, I'm gonna send an email about my case." Then I said, "I'm Jacqueline. I have 3 kids. One studies in Palestine Educate Together." There was also issues with the school. They took years to build, and now finally they're building the school. And I have been waiting for more than 1 year for early intervention, and I haven't heard from them. And I think when you have a kid with autism, you should start the therapies immediately, because as we were saying, they need a different approach. So I need the support, me, mom, and also therapists with me. And then we met. I raised to him why I wasn't having therapists, and I couldn't believe it was true because I am in a European country and waiting for 1 year. So he said he would talk to Anne Rabbit to see what he could do for me. And then he got back to me, and he said about the Rachel face says everything. He said
story every time.
And then he said that he talked to her and then I said, but I don't want to hear long, like
I'll take a break.
in few years. I want to know now what is going on now, short term.
Nothing's going on.
Yeah.
No, keep going. I'm
So
sorry.
and then he and I said, I'm going. Then I said, because I want to decide my life. In Ireland, is going to have a support for my kids because my reality is this. My kids are autists. Are they going to be accepted? Are they going to have support? If not, I have to see other solutions because my husband's Italian. I'm Brazilian. I'm not going to be crying alone. I need to move. And then he said, then he came back to me again, said yesterday, after, consider that I went to Brazil because I knew I wouldn't have a quick answer in November. I did a intervention of 4 months in Brazil, and then I came back. And I said, when I come back to Ireland, I really would like to start the early intervention together. Me, you guys, the private therapists that I'm already paying because it's all what they need. Then he said that Ireland, the problem, I said, what's the problem? Is the staff? You don't have staff? There is no money? I said, let's do a U2 concert and we get this money.
B-O-L-L-O-X is all I'll say to that.
Yeah, and he said, no, Jacqueline, the problem is not money.
No.
He said the problem is the staff.
I paid too many revenue every
Where
every
the
month.
taxes?
The
There
problem
is
is not the
don't-
staff.
yeah.
The staff are great. Like she said,
no,
the therapists are great.
getting
Yeah.
stuff.
I pay a
Enough
lot of
people.
He said in May he would be in charge of the disability department. He said, and he said he would be looking at hiring people from different countries, from Philippines, from India, and Brazil as well. But short term, Ireland never invested on this, so there was nothing that could be done. But
You know he's a law.
this
You know
is-
he's a law professor, right? So I was thinking when you asked me the other day about what I should suggest to talk to him about, he's a professor of law, right? So we should talk to him the next time about making some new laws, some new things to make the HSE and the government responsible to actually meet the actual need that the kids are there. Like not just do this half-arsed job where we have 50% of some of the teams, some less, some more, delivering parent training courses. It's just not enough. You need to analyze the whole system, spend a few months doing that. We need people analyzing every little bit of the system, and then there needs to be like new laws to say like, there's a Disability Act already. They have different things that they're legally required to do. I think that's the only way.
They haven't been doing it for 14
They haven't been
years.
doing it, but it's not working anyway. Even what they are legally required to do, it's not actually doing anything.
Yeah.
So there needs to be new laws, and he's a
Yeah,
legal
I
professor.
agree.
He can sit down with the lawyers and say, look, what do we need to do? We need to write a new law. Like we need to put this into
Ryan, your law is
You know?
it's very difficult.
or change.
in every
They have
country.
a law already, the Disability Act. So change it in a way that it forces the system to change. Because otherwise, it's just going to go round and round. I think.
And I also mentioned Italy and France that I was in touch with people there, and I know the waiting list is 6 months and 1 year. He said, in Ireland, I know in Italy it's, but why not to change now? He's in power. Everyone is. Let's change it and
Now is the
quickly.
time. You've heard it here. We're going to change the system, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I suggest something really important. I said, Okay, I'm like Rachel is saying, we are lucky to be able to afford and pay private therapists, but why should I spend all my savings, all my husband's savings in therapies? So I said, in Ireland, you give 20% back in taxes for health. But for autism, it's not something, for example, when you do an implant, it's one-off. 20%, but we have it to do weekly, money going on. So I think we should have a higher tax back, 50%, 100%. Why 100%? Because the state doesn't give anything, zero. So I believe we should have the right of having a higher tax back in health. He said yes. And he told he told me to write to the Minister of Finance. That is, I don't really know.
Couldn't tell you.
I don't know his name. He said,
form to fill.
He said, write to me a brief email speaking about this idea.
It's worth it.
And then he said
it might seem like it's not worth it.
Yeah,
but it is
no,
worth
I
it
will write. I told you, I'm gonna write this email because I said it's like I'm gonna reinvest 20% back in my account. I'm reinvesting my son until he is fine, until he's better, until he. But it's really, we need support. If you can't give us our money back that we spend, that we invest on them until they're fine. But something can be done. You can't, I think it's just, we can't accept, no, there is no support. Sorry, Jacqueline, I'm sorry for, no, I don't want this. I want a solution, whatever it comes from. Solution.
That's why we protest.
Yeah, let's go.
Guys, let's take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go to the toilet.
He's like, my brain needs a break, man.
Just, guys.
5 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to have 1 minute, not 5 minutes, because people are going to go away with 5 minutes. You're just going to have 1 minute break, and we return with the questions and messages from you. So if you have any questions still, so just put it there on the live chat. And we return in 1 minute with the questions and answers. So see you in 1, 2, 3.
That's how
Okay.
my son feels.
So now you have to include her.
I'm getting the autistic perspective here. I'm like, huh?
We're back. Yeah, we're back, guys. Thank you so much for stay with us until now. So we're gonna return with the messages that you send on our live chat. So yeah, are you guys happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's a
Thanks
therapy.
for having us.
Like,
Yeah.
letting go.
Yeah.
Letting go.
So, Tatiane Poveda, podologista. Bom dia, meu povo. Good morning, my people. What she said in português. Tá. Empathy 79. Yeah, man. If anyone is interested in reading a book, I highly recommend The Reason I Jump
Oh, it's brilliant.
by author Naoki Higashida. The inner voice of a 13-year-old boy with autism.
Yeah.
So, The Reason I Jump.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And I think I'm nearly sure they've made it into a show. There's
Okay.
like, but
Dave
it's
was telling me
subtitled.
to.
I'm nearly sure it's subtitled. It's really good.
That's Dave, this friend of mine. He was telling me today as well to talk about the book, and I said you should recommend it.
Yeah, it's a
because
really good
I
book.
haven't read the book yet.
Yeah,
So,
you recommend the Neurotribes. Who?
Neurotribes
Yeah,
was
Neurotribes.
one, but yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of things.
Oh, so many.
There's so many books and stuff. Once you start, if you do become interested in it, you're going to come across loads.
But there's a Bible book of autism.
No.
No, there's
No.
not.
Follow autistic adults. I'll
Yeah.
give you a few people. There's a guy from Brazil who we're friends with as well, Marcos Petri.
Marcos Pet. I think I heard.
You know, he's a good one to follow. There's a few different Brazilian accounts where you can follow and learn from other Brazilian adults, autistic adults, you know, or different people in the English-speaking world too. I think that's the best resource.
There was a really good documentary on RTA a few weeks ago. Freaker Ryan, did you watch it? Speechless, it was called. I can't remember what age he is, but he's a teenager and he wrote the movie, directed the movie, everything. He doesn't speak, he's a non-speaking autistic person, and he made the whole film, and it's all about his perspective. It's really good.
Wow.
Really emotional, so like
Oh, yeah.
Is it online?
tissue
What's the
and
name?
mind.
Is it
Should be
online?
on the player, yeah. It's like Speechless.
It's speechless.
Yeah, it's really good.
I have to check that out.
It's a good
Yeah.
perspective when you have a child that's autistic, because he's kind of in it. He says like view the world through our eyes so that we can live it through yours. I think something along those lines. But it's really good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Definitely one to watch.
Thanks for that, Dave. That's a good.
Oh, his name is Dave.
Yeah, that's Dave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will call Dave because he sent a lot of messages. Yeah.
Good man. Good man.
Hey,
ABA,
Dave.
good man. ABA, oi, hi Jacqueline and James. Gafai here.
Ah, yeah, this is the group we were talking about.
Okay.
And it's a WhatsApp group with
About
parents.
50
50
moms.
moms.
Yeah.
Like Irish Brazilian mix or
Oh.
Italian. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
I think there might be one other dad other than me, and then the rest is just all mums.
But that's important. You have to find your people
Yeah.
that
of course.
understand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
That's
you'll
how I
have
met-
friends who don't, they understand, but it's different. They don't get it.
Yeah.
You need parents of
Day by day.
kids
yeah.
that are autistic or disabled. They get it. You know.
It helped me start the whole thing about being more of an advocate as well, because Jackie posted in there, I was in the newspaper today, I was in the Independent, here's the link, whatever. I was like, oh, right.
She
I'm going to
empowered
speak on
you.
the radio. I was like, oh, speaking on the
Women
radio, that's a
power,
good idea.
Girl power.
And I was like, yeah, and I messaged her and I was like, yeah, I want to speak to the journalists as well. I want to speak on the radio as well. Like, you know, you're doing it. Let's do it together. Like, you know, we say in Brazil, união faz a força.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the union of more and more people makes it stronger and stronger. So
Yeah.
let's do it together. Let's talk.
Yeah.
And then by coincidence, we've just started talking much more. And even when she came back from Brazil, she was like, my kids are starting a new school in March. I was like, oh, really? Yeah, so is my son starting in a new school. What's the story there? What school? And they're in the same class.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
That's nice.
It's amazing.
Victoria and Leonardo
Wow.
Leo is in the same class as Nick.
It's the universe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
my
totally.
God, I mean,
Totally.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no.
And yesterday I was there and I was picking up Nick, and her son was there, and he was like,
yeah.
a lot of autistic kids will have difficulty like waiting because they don't
Yeah.
they find it difficult to like differentiate between like right now and not right now. So like everyone else was leaving, and Leo, like her son, was like watching everybody leaving, so he was like, I'm going as well. He didn't even have his shoes on, bless him. And he was like trying to like run out the door to find his mom and dad, you know. And the teacher was like trying to push him back in, and he was getting all distressed, like, and it was nice because I knew him. So I said to her, like, I was like, okay, it's okay, let me just calm him down, like, and he came over and I gave him a big hug and all, and I was like, it's all right, Leo, like your mom and dad's coming, just chill, you know. I said in Portuguese, you know, and then he calmed down a little bit, like.
Wow.
So
Thanks, James.
it's nice. It's nice now that
It takes a village.
the
That's
connection,
saying
you know?
for a reason.
it's nice to have the connection with the other parents as well. And I try to speak to the other parents when I'm there as well to try and build that thing, because I think like just try not to go off on another tangent, but like I think things have not changed too much as well. Like one of the questions you asked was like, why is it only now that they're because like it's really difficult being a parent of a child with special needs of any kind, physical disability, neurodiversity, anything. It takes up a lot more of your time than it does when you're a parent of a typical child that does not need as much of your attention, let's say. So a lot of us are burnt out. A lot of us are extremely exhausted. Sometimes we don't eat. Sometimes we don't sleep. We don't have so much time to network or to be out with our friends anymore so much. So, and it would be good if...
get excluded, I find, from
we
the
get
social life.
excluded.
Oh, yeah.
The good friends stick around.
Cancel and
the good friends stick
Oh,
around.
good,
Like Dave is a
you
good
have to
friend
find your
because
people.
Dave is always messaging me and like asking me how I'm doing and everything. Like he's one of the good friends, and there's a few of them, but they're not all like that. I'm not judging everybody, but some people understand that what you're going through. Like you love your kid unconditionally, and he's your pride and joy. But, you're having a hard time in life sometimes. There's going to be days where, I'm not at my best form, So it's good to have friends that are there as well and that like that. And that's why I always talk to their parents as much as I can, because we understand each other, that we're all in the same kind of boat, which other parents won't always understand. They'll just be like...
That's the one good thing with the courses. Even though you're like, another course. You do meet parents.
Network.
And that is, that's the key, is you meet people that you'll still talk to in years.
Yeah. And I think together we can invoke change eventually. Like if we keep
feel
on
like
pressing we'll have to start a political party or something. We'll have to start a new political party of the parents of children with special needs.
Out of the doll in about
Let's start a Talkeando Party.
Good idea.
We will.
No, put me out of this, guys. Politician, no. Not me. No, it's not for me. But I support you.
But what I'm saying is we'll do whatever it takes. So if that has to be the case, we'll do whatever it takes. Or we'll start an organization and we'll get all together and we'll get enough parents together that we're going to force the things to change. We're not going to just sit aside and
you
let
can't
them
assume.
send us some letters and send us a few emails and then we're going to say, oh, I give up. We're not giving up. So tough shit. Things are going to have to change because we're not going to stop. Like she said earlier, like she's on a warpath, man. Like you can't stop a parent on a warpath, man. A parent with passion, fire in her belly. You can't stop her.
Rachel is great. Every day I clap my hands at home. Rachel, you're great. So I just want to say something that I think would be important. Like since it's the International Day for Autism, why not an international standard for early intervention? That in any country there is the same approach, that everyone knows how to do, that there is also the children has the right to have therapies.
I think what you're talking about is a thing, as in the UNCRPD, which is a United Nations convention. The problem being we signed it in 2018, but we haven't signed the optional protocol into law. So right now we're committed to giving all the things you're saying, but when we don't, there's no comeback. So if they sign that into law, the optional protocol, me, you and James could go to the UN directly and say Ireland is failing our children on this level. So that's what we need to push.
That's what Roderick
needs to push, is the optional protocol. Get it signed in, because then they're...
it's like it's a right. It's not a favor. I don't think anyone is doing a favor for our kids. It's the right. And other countries, as Brazil, I think we are doing a lot. Even in Brazil, people don't think we are ahead. I think Ireland, as a European country, should do the same. Because why in Italy or in France or in the UK, some things are happening and here not. I don't think we have to be behind. And so let's ask for please sign this protocol, as soon as possible. So, because why children? Because at this moment we are in disadvantage, comparing to other kids. So I think this should stop, and everyone.
Otherwise, we're all going to have to move to a different country.
and this is definitely.
And you're going to lose 20,000 families. If you want to lose 20,000 families who pay tax, who live here, and earn here, live here, spend money here, you know, that's what's going to happen. Because if we don't change in the next few years, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure a lot of them are going to move.
Yeah, because we are forced to move and then I think another important thing is that there is a lot of people coming from different countries to start a life here, and when we are starting our life, having a job in Facebook, Google, all these companies that are here, we don't know that when we need health that we are gonna face that, and this is they should consider that in the sense that you are calling companies to come, you are calling families to start a life here, and you are not providing the basics, that's the health service. So we feel a bit tricked, like when we paid taxes for 10 years, and when is our time to having it a bit back for our sons that has a approved additional need, there isn't, and we are alone. So I think this shouldn't be experienced by anyone. No.
Spot on.
Yeah, we still have a lot of things to face. Yeah. So, Dave, Brian Collins, hi team.
Oh, Brian!
Yeah. And
Well, I remember Irish CrossFitter, be a champion for your child. Did you watch that one?
No.
Brian's awesome. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hope you're still here.
How's it going? Marcus Petri say hi,
Marcus.
guys.
Hey,
Yeah.
Marcos.
Dave, your friend Dave. Irish families under stress, planning for the future of autistic person. Another book that might help. Brian says, Autism Revolution is a great book too.
Okay. Haven't heard of that one. I'll give it a go.
Yeah. So, now let me see here. Marcus Petri. Perfect analogy for the autistic individual sensory processing. I think it's talking about the
cup.
Train.
I was talking about
Cup or
the
the train.
flower.
Yeah.
It was the train, man. Don't
I
take
think
it
that's
personally.
the
Train.
train. Yeah.
I'm only joking.
Oh, no, it was too. Yeah, that's a really good one as well. Yeah.
We still have a lot of messages here, guys. Hold on. I know you're excited to play.
It's grand. It's grand. No. Go ahead. I'm sure we got questions.
Dave, I believe people have an understanding of what autism is, what problems in day-to-day lives do families face, and how, as a society, can we help? What is the problem and how to address this? I don't know if it was a question. He says a lot of things.
Sounds like a question.
I'd say, like Jackie touched on earlier on when you were talking about when your child was in distress and people are watching and judging you. I think just be more understanding. Don't be so quick to judge. And I know 10 years ago, I probably would have been a more judgmental person than I am now. I probably would have been like, Jesus, that kid needs, get control. Whereas now I would be total opposite. And that's what I meant when I said the kids change it. They do.
Yeah.
And I just think maybe judge a bit less and maybe offer help. And it doesn't even have to be, can I do anything? Just a smile to say, you got it. You're good. Or
say hello.
We see you.
Anything.
You're doing okay. Don't cry. It's going to be fine. But I
going.
think just stop being judgmental a-holes.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Juliana Almeida says, great talk. Thank you. Dave again. My daughter is in school with autistic friends in her class and has good understanding of autism, and they all carry on fine. People understand what autism is. What we don't understand or see is the day-to-day lives issues family face. Can I ask this?
What families face day to day?
Yeah.
That's a hard question. What families face today? Obviously,
many things embarrassing.
I mean, it's great that his child is in a class with autistic students, and obviously that's a parenting win for him. Is that his child is understanding and interacting with those kids and isn't othering them. But I think day to day, it could be anything. Kids have restrictive diets, so meal times can be an issue. Eating out in a restaurant can be an issue, not just because of food, but because the social aspect and the sensory aspect. Getting every kid in the class getting invited to a party, but your kid not, because they're autistic and they probably wouldn't like it, but not actually asking. Would they want to go, and letting that child make that decision, or let you go, and then if you need to leave, you need to leave. so it's all about inclusion, isn't it, really? Like, just including the child, and making those accommodations. Okay, that child might not eat cake, so let's make sure we have, I don't know, what's he eat, carrots, let's make sure we have carrots for him. Like, it's simple things, it's not big grand gestures, it's the simple everyday little things of including you, and just presuming because you have an autistic child you don't want to do this, or you don't want to do that, or you won't want to go to a party, or you won't want to go to an event, or your friend's not telling you the gossip because you're busy doing other things.
They're not inviting you because of you're busy with your kid.
Exactly. It's the little things. It's all the little everyday things, and eating, drinking. It's
another thing that I found challenges as well is like sometimes I can't answer the phone. People will call me, and this really irritates me actually. Like, it's not David does it, but family members and stuff. Just people would call me, and like I didn't answer the phone, and then I would like send them a message. Because like literally, like my son is like having a bit of a moment or whatever, where he's like really loud or something, or I'm like trying to give him a bath, or I'm trying to get him ready for bed or whatever, and I need both my hands, so I can't answer the phone and do both. So I'll send them a text message and say, look, I can't answer the phone right now, just send me what it is. And then like 5 minutes later they'll try and call again.
But this is
I'm just gonna give you 5 minutes to.
And I'm like,
I would answer the phone and just let them hear the screaming.
This really pisses me off. But like I guess that's like a roundabout way of saying, just kind of like understand that sometimes it should be okay for me to not be available, or like if you've invited me to a thing that's going to happen, it should be okay. You should understand that it's sometimes I might just not show up, or I might last minute cancel and say, look, I'm sorry, we're not going to go because there's something else that's going on. I shouldn't even have to go into the details, to be honest. It should just be okay.
And to keep inviting you anyway.
Keep inviting me anyway, please.
Don't give up.
Just maybe today I might not be there, Like the school, for example, would be a great example. Like, they're so understanding in the school we're in. So like the other day I just texted like 10 minutes before the school started and said, look, Nick didn't really sleep at all last night, so he's not going to go today. And they're like, yeah, of course, no problem. See you Monday. Do you know what I mean? Because they understand. They weren't like, if he's not sick, then
21 days and you're getting your letter.
Like some kind of technical, like, if it was a different school that wasn't understanding, they might like bring up some requirement. Oh well, if he hasn't got a doctor's letter, then or something like that. Whereas they're a school that's completely understanding, so they were just like, no worries, no stress. Do you know what I mean? Straight away. So I guess that's one way of answering Dave's question. Like, for everyone just to be a little bit less demanding of us, because we're just doing our best.
Respect your boundaries.
Sometimes, respect our boundaries, respect our challenges that we're going through. Sometimes we can't answer the phone. Sometimes we can't be available for a chat. Sometimes we can't be available to go to a different event or whatever, because we just can't. And we don't always have to explain why, please.
Yeah. I definitely understand. What do you have more?
There's flags as well.
Yeah, there's some
Brazilian
flags.
Nice.
Renata Ferrari put a Brazilian flag.
China.
Oh, China.
Sarah is my neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see?
Cool.
There's a
China. Ni hao.
Chinese here.
Ni hao, Sarah.
Ni hao ma. Yeah, Te Sui, her name. Very nice to participate in the Chinese flag.
Thanks.
Jonathan. Nice point, Jacqueline. I don't know which point you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Lots of nice points.
Yeah. Teshu. I don't know how to say her name. Teshu.
Tishu, maybe?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Some people just thought those kids are impolite and blame their parents for children's behavior. Oh, yeah, we're saying about that.
Yeah, we're...
Fabricio Serafim puts a smile.
My friend. Fabri.
Renata Ferrari. The general public need information. Schools are getting better, but need to be more inclusive. Yeah. Dave here with the Bible message.
Kiss to Renata. She's my friend. She's also speech therapy in Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
And audiology. She's working in the field.
Oh, Renata, né?
Yeah.
Let me read what David put here, because I can't find it. Yeah. Why force your children to schools and protest to get them accepted into society if you disagree with it all? Is this about you and the way you perceive a good life to be? What is the answer or the problem? Autism is an escape from this. We don't understand and look for treatment when the problem is us. Maybe we should change to conform with something else rather than making everything conform to what we do. And this is the only way. We should all run and play more, shout, wave our hands and let go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
As in, we should embrace the autistic.
So, like, what he's saying is, like, I get him. Like, for example, like,
sorry, my
son,
reading is not that.
No, you did great. My son, for example, like, he doesn't care if he's super excited. He's just going to shout and scream and wave his hands and jump around and play and do whatever he wants. And if he's in the park, he's not going to just walk on the path. He might, even if he's only got runners on, he might just run straight for the wet grass and the puddles and just jump in the wet grass and get all mucky because he doesn't care, because it's fun. You know, and that's what he's trying to say.
Oh,
like,
embrace that. Yeah, I
maybe
agree,
just
totally.
Yeah, I agree too. Like, maybe just everybody should just be more kind of carefree and just kind of expressive. And, you know, I guess an example of that would be like that you guys had to conform would be like when Brazilians meet Brazilians, for example. It's okay to like hug and kiss and stuff, even if I'd never met João before. For example, today we have João here in the produção and Bob as well. Like, I've met Bob before, but like, for example, even if I'd never met Bob before, it would be perfectly okay for me to give him a big hug when I met him the first time. Whereas if we were both Irish, it'd be like slightly awkward if I just went up and just gave him a big hug. This would be an example of Brazilians have gone past this stage of caring. If you know each other too much, you can still give each other a hug if that's what you want. You don't have to, but that's okay. You know, in some parts of Brazil, even a kiss on the cheek or whatever, in certain environments, and it's perfectly okay, even if you've never met the person before. Whereas, like, we would be kind of like, what the fuck is going on? You know? So maybe everyone should just be themselves.
It's the first thing we do when we meet someone is two kisses on the cheek.
In Rio, no? In São Paulo, one.
Yeah, we used to.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And in the south, 3 kisses.
Yeah, 3 kisses.
That's a French thing as well.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. Everyone should just be kind of carefree.
3 keys to married.
Yeah, like if you want to get married, you kiss for 3 times.
Thanks for that, Dave. Well, it's true. Everyone should just be themselves and not be so politically correct all the time, you know. As long as you're not offending people, why not jump in a wet puddle one day when you're just walking in your runners if you feel like doing that, like my son does, you know. And people will be like, oh, he's all getting wet. And I'm the opposite as a parent. I'm like, jump in the puddle, man. Come on. Just get wet. We'll change when you get home. It's fine, you know. Yeah.
But you see, in the preschool my children were attending, it was okay to do that. We used to bring even clothes for that, and they have this concept that they could get dirt, they said. They would arrive really dirt at home.
But happy.
Yeah, and happy. And so...
Pinheiro região. Pinheirinho região. Que bacana. He said, that's nice.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Thanks, Pinheirinho. Jonathan, he put some Brazilian flags. Nice. Renata Ferrari, and that's okay. And that's early intervention. The system is complete and broken, shocking. Yeah. David. The last 2. Nicole Staff. I don't know how to say her name. Staff. Yeah. Great to see you, Jacqueline. You are doing an amazing work for the children within the spectrum.
All right. I think Nicole.
And Romulo.
Nicole, she's one of the teachers of Fledglings, the preschool my children were attending, and she was always very supportive, and she was trying different strategies to engage with Leo and Vic. She's great. She's an amazing person, enthusiastic. She's from Uruguay. Hola.
Olá.
Besitos.
And last one on our list, Romulo Araújo Pereira.
Oh, yeah,
Vai Corinthians. Vai Corinthians. Love you, Jaque. James Spalding. Thank you guys for watching.
Corinthians is a team in Brazil.
Yes, a team in Brazil from São Paulo. So guys, Jaque, do you have anything to say? Is there any question that I didn't do?
No.
That you want?
It's just to. I just wanted to talk about a little bit about the health insurance that we were talking before. At the moment in Ireland, what I understand is you pay the health insurance and then you can claim 50% back.
Private health insurance.
Private health insurance, but there is a cap.
You can only get a certain amount of sessions. Some don't cover physio at all. Some cover a certain amount of physio. Some only cover a certain amount of speech and OT.
Yeah, and I think this is another point that should change in Ireland, because I think we need also a lot of the private health, private therapy. So my idea is, in Brazil at the moment, what is going on? If a doctor writes a letter saying, oh, your child needs 20 hours therapy with physiotherapy, with occupational therapy, with a speech therapy, the health insurance has to provide, has to give. And if they don't, you bring to court and then you win. So my question is, why not in Ireland, the health insurance, the laws could change and do something similar to uncap if you have a diagnosis of autism for uncap for autistic children. Why until 4,000 euros? Because we spend much more than that. And so I just think also the health insurance should work in a different way in Ireland. And why not?
Another step to do.
Yeah, because
Another
if the
thing-
doctor states that the doctor wouldn't do a letter if there was no need, so the word of the doctor should be respected, and
I
also
know what you mean. I got you.
you should follow the doctor instruction. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see.
But that's it, and I think is just to conclude, and I think things has to change. Like the last word from Roderick yesterday, I still not accepting. I understand things gonna change long term, but I think things could change short term. So let's change now and not wait for the next politician
Yeah.
to change.
I agree.
Let's
I
change
agree
it
too.
now.
And Brian says here, playing catch up now. Great work so far, team. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You're still
So,
here. Come on,
Rachel,
Brian.
is there any question I didn't do that you want to answer?
I don't think so. I suppose what I'd want to just drive home is that autism is not a tragedy, that autistic people are fantastic if you just get to know them, and if you are accepting of them, and if you make accommodations and just learn like you would with anyone that you meet, what they like, what they don't like, and accept it. Don't think, you hear a lot of, when I tell, especially about my son, when I say he's autistic, a lot of people go, oh, he must be mild. And I'm like, fuck off. I hate it. Like, do you get that?
Oh, he doesn't
hate
look, or
it.
stuff like, oh,
He doesn't look autistic. And I'm gotten to the point now where I go, oh, yeah, I dressed him differently today. And people are like, huh?
Yeah,
And
I
I'm like,
answer people with stupid answers as well, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
they get confused.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, what? Oh, yeah, did his hair different today. Like, what does autism look like? Idiots. Anyway, what I was going to say is, embrace the strengths. Like, my son is so creative. Like, he is, his attention to detail is fantastic. He has just massive knowledge about the things that he's interested in. There's a myth that autistic people have no empathy, which is absolute bullshit. I would actually say that my son is probably on the opposite end of that he's so empathetic and so kind. And I just think to throw all those myths and whatever you've heard about autism, all the stereotypes you've heard, like Rain Man and whatever, and just learn about each autistic individual as you meet them. Because obviously my son is autistic and my daughter's autistic, and they are, like any people, totally different. Totally different. My son didn't speak. My daughter is like, talks like she's a bloody professor in a college. It's ridiculous, and she's
What
4.
age did he start speaking?
My son, we would have started getting some words around 4 or 5, and then he developed a stutter, so that was fun. So the poor sod, when he did start talking, got a stutter, God love him. But like proper like conversations, maybe only 6. Yeah, but now like you'd
But
chat, you'd
but
have
we
a
only
full
say-
blown conversation.
But we only say only 6 because we're comparing to.
Yes, that's
Oh,
true.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, he did
And
it
in
when he
fact-
was ready.
What
He
time?
did it when he was
Yeah,
6.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
What
great.
time? How do you
know?
say typical children? Typical kid.
They should. You say you
Yeah.
should have like, I think 100 words by 2 or something. I can't even remember the PHN things,
Yeah.
the public Antler things. But yeah, that's what I would say is the saying, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, is true. The same it is on any person. And then the other thing I would say is that we are protesting on the 6th of May outside Leinster House.
We are. You're going. You guys are going. Everyone.
We have every opposition TD party. So we have People Before Profit, we have Labour, we have Sinn Féin, who have been fantastic. We have Inclusion Ireland coming. We've so many people that are on our side, and I know everybody's tired, and I know they're fed up, but I just think the more of us there is, the harder we are to ignore. So we will be there at Leinster House 6th of May. I don't care if you want to carry a poster that says whatever. It doesnn't have to have, Fuss's message or whatever. It can be, if you're in an autism support group or a disability support group somewhere else, bring whatever you want. I just want feet on the street so they literally just can't ignore us anymore. So yeah, that would be mine.
Nice.
And you, James.
Yeah, I second everything that the guys are saying.
Yeah.
I would say, like, the same thing that Rachel just said, like kind of just, you know, accept people, whether they're autistic or not, really, just as being individuals. And I mean, just as kind of overall, like as society, I guess we just need to be aware and accepting of everybody and everybody's struggles as well, you know, like, and not kind of get dragged into, let's say, like groupthink, you know, like that's why we have, for example, this idea of like autism or other conditions as like something bad is because of what I would call groupthink. So instead of people thinking individually and critically about things, we tend to just learn from what other people say about stuff, and we just attach it to our own belief system. Whereas if we really thought about it, like really detailed and really cared enough to think just for even just a couple of seconds, might realize that, okay, you know, that's what everyone else thinks about that is not actually correct, you know. So maybe my lesson would be for everyone to think for themselves and actually realize that, you know, there's more wars going on than just the war with Russia and Ukraine, for example. Why is everybody suddenly just supportive of one people's plight when there's, you know, Yemen, Somalia, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, you know. Like when I met a guy last night who was making my falafel, he's from Iraq, and I asked him where was he from. He said, oh, I'm from Iraq. And I said, well, I stand with you as well, because I know your people have been through loads of stuff. I think as a society we should just be more kind to each other and just understand that a lot of people have troubles and difficulties, you know, and depression, or, you know, maybe some difficulties financially or whatever. Like last night I was walking to my car and there was a random stranger walking and she was crying, and I just stopped her and I said, well, what's going on? Like, and she said, oh, I came from Canada today and my bank card was frozen. The bank thought I was being like a victim of fraud, so I couldn't get into my hostel, and now I'm outside. I've been walking around for 4 hours asking people, I've lost my voice, asking people for help, and nobody's helping me because they think I'm homeless. I'm from Canada. I just got here and I can't even get into my hostel. This was like 11:30 at night. It was raining and it was cold. So
and
if I was
1 degree.
If I was an inconsiderate person, I'd just be like, yeah, sorry, I can't help, and just walk straight to my car and just go home. But no, because, like I was talking about earlier, because I've been abroad, because I've lived in countries where, you know, people to provide for their families in Brazil, they don't have social welfare. They go and they buy a bunch of ice pops for 20 quid. They put them in a cooler box and they go on the bus and they sell them and they make 50 quid. And then they go back again and they buy another box of 20 quid worth of ice pops. And then they go back to the bus again. And they spend 8 hours doing that to make 100 quid to go home and put food on the table. So I know, I've seen, I've breathed that suffering as well. And I've been through hard times over there myself. So I couldn't ignore somebody when they tell me that. Whereas many people did. She said she spent the last 4 hours walking around asking people and nobody was helping her. So what did I do? I took my tips from the gig. I had some cash in my pocket. I was like, how much did you need to clear the balance? Because she'd already paid a deposit in the hostel. And she said, oh, I only need 19 euros. I said, right, let's go.
My God, that's it.
So I
So
said,
you're going to say hundreds.
yeah, she was going to sleep
20
outside.
bucks.
She was going to sleep somewhere outside. Jet lagged. She'd taken 3 flights to get here. And like,
My
I was like, no,
gosh.
jump in the car. And my car was like right there. So I drove to the hostel and paid the hostel. And then she went, you know. Just be kind. Be more considerate and kind of other people. You can't help everybody, okay? A couple of homeless people had asked me for a change on the way to my car as well. We have a lot of problems in society, but, you know, be considerate of other people and their challenges and their problems. And if you can help, why not?
Yeah.
You know, maybe if you have a day off someday and you don't have anything to do, if you know somebody that might be going through some hard times, why not call them? Why not knock on their door and say, you know, I don't know, an elderly person who lives alone or somebody who needs help. Just go and say, hey, it's me, Thales, I'm your neighbour, you know, I know you live alone, you know, do you need any help with anything? Do you want me to go to the shop for you? Or, I don't know, I just think people in general could be more considerate of others, you know, and that's an example. If that lady was walking around for 4 hours, society needs to wake the fuck up, man. You know, why was she walking around for 4 hours asking people for help? She didn't look like she was a drug addict. Why were people assuming that? Just because she was asking for help. And people are so used to people asking for them help who look like drug addicts. So they were assuming that's what she was. She wasn't.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be my message. Like, for autism, for everything in general, people just need to be more, I don't know, just kind of
Give
open-minded,
opportunity.
open-hearted, you know? Open your heart, open your mind to the world, you know? There's a lot of shit going on around. So that would be my message. I also have a song that I wrote for my son as well. Co-wrote with my friend Aaron. during the kind of lockdown period, I called him one day, and he was just after being asked to be a godfather, and it was at the beginning of my kind of journey with the whole autism thing, so I was a little bit emotional at the time, which is good when you're songwriting because you've got shit to channel. So yeah, we wrote a song, and I'm gonna sing it for you guys. If I can position the mic just a little bit further away from me for a second, so I have room for my hands. I'm gonna move the chair just a little bit as well.
So we're gonna have a beautiful song
if that's okay.
from James. Yeah, I'm gonna record it.
You tell me if it's too loud, yeah? Son, you make me feel alright. Bring me out into the light. Give me direction. There isn't a thing I wouldn't do. I'll give you the sun, the stars, the moon, and the ocean. Before you were here, we didn't know. You turned this house into a home. That's what you did. We're in this together. We're in this together. Son, I will be your teacher and your best friend. Oh, son, I promise I'll love you till the end. Oh, son, you don't understand how much I love you. Oh, son, I'm a much better person because of you. Oh, you're spinning my whole world upside down, making me turn my life around because you're perfect. I never knew a love like this, never a moment I will miss. You're making me better. And whenever you need me, I'll be there. It's hard to explain how much I care. We've got a connection. We're in this together. So we're in this together. Oh, son, I will be your teacher and your best friend. Oh, son, I promise I will love you till the end. Son, you don't understand how much I love you. Oh, son, I'm a better person because of you. No, I'll never, 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 never let you down. No, I'll never, 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 never let you down. No, I'll never, 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 never let you down. 'Cause we're in this together. We're in this together. My son.
That's nice.
Very beautiful.
Thanks so much.
Well
man.
done, James.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate
I know you're emotional.
emotional.
So, guys, I think we're done here. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rachel,
you.
Jaque,
Thank you.
James.
Obrigada.
It was an honor to have you guys here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you spend
Thanks for the
Right.
production team as well.
Thank you
behind
guys for
behind the cameras, there's a very, very attentive
Thank you, Bobby.
thank
team
you for
working
Thanks, Bobby,
super hard
John.
over there.
Yeah, everyone. So
Thanks a lot.
That's what make me glad to make
and
this
thanks
everything
for
happy.
exist and do this amazing
Yeah.
job and give us voice.
Yeah, it's not
gonna
me,
go.
easier.
It's around the world. You see, China, Brazil, Ireland, all Europe. So thank you.
Thanks,
Nice.
Thales.
Job.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much, guys. So, thank you all of you to stay with us until now. So we are back on Tuesday on the next episode. So enjoy your day and stay with your kids, stay with your family, and support, and not just be aware of autism. Oh shit. Let me rephrase.
We accept
So-
your flaws. Thales.
Yeah,
It's okay. Take a deep breath.
I
Breathe.
got emotional with James as well. So, just not only like be aware of autism, just support and help each other, as everyone here says. And thank you so much, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank
You guys
you.
make
Thank
me
you.
make me feel better now that I'm learning more about this. And yeah, let's talk more about this in the future. And I hope you guys come back here after your stuff.
After
and-
Your
Riot.
protest.
the riot,
Yeah,
the
we will be
protest.
there. We will be there
Yeah.
with, making noise. And
Yeah, we should
yeah.
bring
Pa, pa, pa.
percussion actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
percussion.
Oh yeah, I have a
Percussion.
sound. We have a sound system ready to.
Because
Portable.
street
Yeah.
percussion is like what Brazil is all about.
Yeah,
so we
bring
could
it.
bring.
Oh, that's
Brings
cool.
like
Bring
a
the
good
noise.
vibe.
Let's arrange
yeah,
something
yeah.
nice. Yeah, let's do something nice. Which day want to be?
6th of May.
6th
Friday.
of May. All right. So yeah, guys, this was the Talkeando Podcast. See you next week and enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye bye, guys.
Ciao,
Ciao.
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 Valeu, galera.